All right, well that cut out a little quicker than I was ready. Hi guys,
hey
how's
everybody.
it going? Let's see. So I have not really tested this.
Cool.
We'll see.
Flying by the seat of our
Yeah.
pants.
Oh, absolutely. We'll see where you fall in the camera. There we go. That's kind of what I expected would happen. Do a little bit of this here, and there we go. Hi guys.
What's up, everybody?
It is half. It's Jav.
I'm back.
Is this the good-looking one so you can be thirsty? Man,
What?
There's someone. Yeah. Sister just loves the dudes that come through the stream.
Cool.
Hi guys. So you said something space thing. You're now in the infirmary. Send flowers. I don't know what the space thing is. I'm sorry that you're in the infirmary. I hope you're okay. Me llamo Jeff. Me llamo Jeff. Is that from something? Hey, welcome.
Hey,
How's
thanks
it
for
going?
having me.
It's good to
This
see
is
you.
really exciting.
Yeah.
I'm like really genuinely excited.
Me too. Yes.
Get to talk about movies. It's the only thing I know about.
Well, yeah, and I just pretend to. I think he nutted in space. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because there's a thing where, so we're already off in a good direction.
Yes, in a great direction.
Apparently, there's a video where these guys explain that it. Really, is this the first we want to spend the
He's
first?
talking about beating off in space.
Well, like if you were to ejaculate, it would push you back, and the line is, what's the meme line when you. No, not that one. That's a good one.
That's also true.
That's a pretty good one.
So it's like in Gravity when Sandra Bullock uses that fire extinguisher to get to the other like pod or whatever.
Yes. In fact,
you're doing it with your dick.
I think probably that's the original. It was like she just
Alfonso was
It's first it was a dude.
and then he wrote it with his son, so he was like, "Son, I think we need." And then you nut.
Yeah. And he's like, perfect. I think yes. Space nut. When you nut in space, it pushes you backward. That's what it is. When you nut in space, it pushes you backward. Because someone was saying that, and I was like, what? And then there's an actual, that's from a thing. And then Neil deGrasse Tyson weighed in and was like, well, technically, if you did, it would.
Here, let me show you.
So, welcome, guys. Welcome to the inaugural, and well, let's be honest, we started off by talking about nutting in space, so that'll probably be the last.
We were going for highbrow and torpedoed it immediately.
We're going to
You
talk
put this
about
nice title card behind us together. It looked very fancy. Boom! Right
Spork, what's up? Welcome to the movie podcast. She's like, when are we doing when are you doing a movie podcast?
Oh yeah.
This is Spork.
Well, here you go.
And she's
prepared to be
excited.
disappointed.
Really pushed it off to a good start. So this is Jeff Ray. He's a filmmaker. He makes nice films, good nice films
that
are
happen to star in a lot.
Yeah, and sometimes when I get to, and I'm very happy to, and also some other films and such have been recognized by like Rolling Stone, and I don't remember anymore. Just a bunch of really official things.
Yeah.
You're like a big deal, is what I'm saying.
That's true.
This guy's a big deal.
That's what I tell myself. Yeah.
Hey Heath, you emailed us a possible filmography thing.
Oh.
Nice. All right. Oh yeah, we've got a Discord. Guys. So if you want to join, is Lobro Jeff's Robert De Niro? Oh, I was like, are you my Robert De Niro? Sure. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and answer and say yes. I am his Robert.
Are you to my? And that makes me. Well, if that makes me Scorsese, then
yeah,
yes.
then I'll take any De
That's
Niro.
what that is.
I'll take any De Niro I can get.
Frankly,
Nice.
He's my Keitel.
There we
Let's be
go.
real.
There
That's
we go.
The more legit answer.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Keitel, yeah.
He's great.
Lobro. Hi. Oh, hold on. Man, a lot of messages coming through in the filmography phone here. 60 minutes ago, Jeff said to tell you he's en route.
Wow, she's on it.
She is. Anyway. So what we're gonna do here, briefly.
Yeah.
Briefly. This is just the kickoff, right? So this is kind of gonna be like, kind of casual. So is filmography the name of your new segment or the topic of the night? It is the name of the new segment.
Yeah.
Until, we get sick of it or something. when you do realize being Keitel requires a lot of unnecessary full frontal nudity. I wouldn't call it unnecessary at this point, because like,
and I wouldn't. I mean, required sounds like he's not just willingly ready to do it at the drop of a hat.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
Brian's
like
not wearing pants right now.
I'm not. Yeah.
Sorry,
absolutely.
Lobro.
So how is RoboCop satire? We'll talk about that. But so we're going to so this is going to be a show. This is going to be a movie talk show.
Yes.
And it is open to anything and everything. But right at the beginning, it's not. Right at the beginning, we're going to start talking. We're going to start off. There was a time, starting around 1967 and going to 1980, 82.
Probably at the very, very latest. Yeah.
Because where and it's a time in cinematic history, known colloquially or officially as the New Hollywood. And
New Hollywood movement.
Yeah, and it literally changed film forever. It changed it forever. There was before it and there was after it, and we are in the post that phase clearly. But it also directly affects and has led somewhat directly to where we are now, essentially, with movies.
I would say there's a direct line, because there is a cause and then there is a direct effect that you see how the reaction of the 80s, based off what happened in the 70s, you see a reaction of the 80s, and then because of that, a reaction of what the 90s was, and it just keeps doubling, domino affecting up to where we are today. So it's really a pivotal decade.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it really, I mean, if you I don't know if you ask enough people and start talking to people who like consider themselves cinephiles and stuff, probably a lot of them will say that the best decade for film was the 70s or the 60s, 70s, right? And this is why a lot of these movies sort of exemplified a new spirit of freedom that was absolutely new for the time, and some would say has not returned and has in fact been
some would say that it hasn't returned for a good reason.
Yeah.
Because it was so good, and then it got abused, and John Cassavetes absolutely fits in that mold. He's right in there for sure.
So that's our starting point, right? Mm-hmm. So and to me, I mean not to me. I think generally speaking, the New Hollywood is the birth of modern film, right? In the United States. So that's kind of where we thought we would start. So we're gonna kind of discuss a little bit of that.
And we're gonna show kind of how it gets into that phase, because right prior to that was the old Hollywood.
Yeah.
And the old Hollywood system, and that was breaking down, and then we're gonna show kind of how it got to,
1890s best. Oh, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. Thank you, Heath. Yes. So we're gonna change this to talk shows. Everyone will immediately run away, but it's okay.
You gotta suck them in with blood porn, though.
What's that?
You gotta suck them in with the blood porn.
Yeah, exactly. Boom. And guys, I gotta be honest. This is something I've been. It's been in the back of my head to do since I got on Twitch. Or since shortly thereafter, when we got to the point where I kind of started being like, well, I should maybe start doing something that is very much me, and this is me. Like I will talk. Yeah. Talking movies is just
when we go see a movie like at a theater together, and I feel like we started having conversations about doing something like this, because whenever we go, we inevitably will end up talking in the parking lot outside the theater for like 2 hours straight without question afterward, and it'll always be about the movie at first, and then the movie leads to other movies and film in general and cinema, and then life, and then we dive into like everything, and that's kind of what we want this to be, in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. And so we're going to start with the New Hollywood. We're going to kind of then there are definite like kind of benchmarks and points to kind of, there's a timeline, obviously, right? In the 90s, there was a whole other thing. And then we got to where we are now. So we're going to kind of follow it a little bit, but we're also leaving room to just sort of jump off and do different things at different points. Now, at first, I think we're going to try to structure it a little bit. We'll just see what happens. Now, I'll preface this. So Jeff is a filmmaker, right? I'm an actor, and I would be a filmmaker, if I would finish a film.
You're a filmmaker.
Okay, I'm a film worker honor. But this is not like, this is, I'm very interested in this. I love film or whatever, but I'm not an expert. A lot of what we're going to be talking about was introduced, bink, at least to me, in a book called Easy Riders, Raging Bulls by Peter Biskin. And if this is a class, which it isn't, because this is just a conversation, and you guys know a lot about, I'm sure there's stuff that you guys know that I've never heard of, I'm sure. So this is a conversation, right? Like, we're going to be doing a lot of talking because that's what a stream is. But please, yeah. So if you want to pick this up,
we're going to reference it a lot, probably.
Yeah. Now, don't feel like you need to.
No.
But if you want to get if
you want to get like a real comprehensive, deep dive history of it with names and details, I've read it many times. It's where I've gotten a lot of my information about this era.
Is this an online book club, you old ladies? Well, there's also a documentary for you tech-savvy whippersnappers. It's great. It's really great. It kind of is, I feel like, the well-known book about it. It's like the go-to book, right?
And it's written by Peter Biskin. And he also wrote a biography on biography or autobiography?
On Warren Beatty?
Yeah, on Warren Beatty.
I don't know. I mean, did he write it with him?
I think so.
Really?
Maybe not. I don't know. Anyways, it's also really fantastic, and it also covers a similar era.
And he's got another book that I haven't read on the kind of the Sundance era.
Oh, and Miramax.
Yeah.
That focuses, it's very interesting.
Very interesting.
And I kind of want to revisit it post Harvey Weinstein because they allude to a lot of his tyrannical behavior. So
interesting. Yeah. Well, all right. So right at the top, though, we've said so you're a filmmaker. What just briefly, and feel free, guys. This is where I was telling. Feel free to chime in. When did the love of film start for you? And yeah, that's what I'll ask.
So I grew up, watching kind of all the, Jurassic Park and Raiders, and I remember I'll just talk like I had, everybody had like a set amount of VHS copies in their household, and we had Jurassic Park, and I had a Sunday movie night version that was recorded of Raiders.
Gosh, I love that's something that doesn't happen anymore.
And we still have it, and you can watch it, and they got like the old commercials.
Yes,
oh, it's the best.
It's good.
The best.
Fantastic.
I try to watch it every time I go home for Christmas because it's just it's ripe with nostalgia.
Yeah.
And then I had like The Last Crusade, but actually like the actual copy of it, and things like that. And so I really enjoyed adventure movies and things like that. And then when I was 12, both my grandparents were in World War II, and my parents decided to take me to see Saving Private Ryan.
Like your grandmother and your grandfather?
Both my grandparents. Yeah, one was a pilot and he flew B-52s.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and one, I can't remember, I think he was infantry. But anyway, so they were
both your grandfathers.
Yeah, both my grandfathers. Yeah, sorry.
No. Yeah, sure.
And so my parents wanted to take me to see Saving Private Ryan so I could get an understanding of kind of what they went through, and they had no clue.
Yeah,
no one did. Before Saving Private Ryan come out, you have to remember that war movies, World War II movies, looked nothing. Like that set the benchmark. And so when we went in, like they had no idea how violent it was going to be, and for whatever reason, and they still can't answer this question, they didn't take me out of the theater because that opening beach sequence is just 30 minutes of bloodshed.
Maybe the war gets less violent from here on out. I'm sure it'll be fine.
But I have to say, it was like I always tell them it's one of their best parenting decisions because I walked out of that theater. And the first credit when it faded to black was Steven Spielberg, directed by Steven Spielberg. And I didn't even know what a director was, but I knew that he was responsible for what I had just seen, and I knew I wanted to do that. So that's where it all started for me. And that's how I know that film has the power to change lives, is because I literally walked out of that theater and I was like, oh, I'm going to do that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you?
Well, I was 2 rows behind you. And I was like, let me see real quick. So your and your sister call them movies. Your parents called them films, as in going to watch the film, and your grandparents call it going to watch the picture.
Yeah.
So if you call it a picture, if you're either, I think, older or just really classy. You call it a movie if you're just a human being. And you call it a film if you're kind of a dick.
Yeah,
but I call them films.
But it's an interesting
to me, there is a difference between a film and a movie.
Would you consider Jurassic Park a movie?
That's a good question.
Or a film?
I think it's
because it's a great.
I think it's a movie. I think it's a fantastic movie.
It's a movie. Yeah,
I think it's a movie.
And is it because of the entertainment quality of it? Like,
it's
do we associate? And that's why you do think that when people call it films, it's like that guy's a dick.
Yeah,
because it is a pretentious thing to say.
No, I'm a dick, Scorp. No. It is and this is this is a ridiculous conversation to have.
It is,
but I definitely.
But I do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when people are like, DC's trash and Marvel's great, I'm like, cool. We're just talking about bubblegum here, though.
Right.
I'm not going to expend a whole lot of, because my real stuff goes into film. My real attention, my real effort. And I don't know, because it's Saving Private Ryan. Saving Private Ryan is
I would consider it's a film. Yeah.
I mean, does it come down to like high concept and low concept? Because like high concept, like,
or is it the presentation of the material? Because like and this is gonna be the ultimate pretentious thing. I've been on a Andrei Tarkovsky kick for the past week, and I've been going through his entire catalog, and that is the most pretentious thing that I will ever say. It's just the benchmark, and then we'll just go down from here.
That's great.
But I mean, you can't call that. Sometimes you can't even call it a film. It's borderline like trying to push it. But Stalker, I watched that literally last night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't call that a movie. I wouldn't even dare to call that a movie.
Yeah. Well, so no, I don't think it has anything to do. Is this the other third brother? This is someone else's brother.
I've got a brother.
I have a brother. You know what that is?
No.
It's not a good. It's not a good.
You pulling from something?
Yeah, it's a movie. He goes. I have a brother. Anything?
Give me
a little bit.
Give me an actor.
It's Kevin Costner. I am having my debutante. We're going to go see a picture. Perhaps we'll gaze out on the veranda in the evening. Fantastic.
Oh, so that's the southern thing. I always imagined it was like we're going to go see the pictures.
The picture show. Oh yeah.
CinemaScope.
Son, you'll be in the picture.
And in Technicolor.
I remember being a pretentious jerk in high school, spending lunch breaks watching Tarkovsky movies on your laptop. No, you were awesome. That's an awesome thing to do.
That's an awesome thing
I've not seen a Tarkovsky film ever.
That's gonna be we'll do that on a deep dive when we expect no one to watch.
Yeah, well,
it's just difficult material.
Is it?
Well, I mean, it's
old Andre.
You gotta really want to be in that mindset because it's like glacial paced type filmmaking, like lingering shots and very, introspective and stuff like that. I love it. I think but it took me years. Like I couldn't get into it till like literally this year, and I've tried before.
So I should get. Are you saying?
I'm saying
smarter.
You're never going to be ready on an intellectual level.
That's exactly right. I just wanted to watch Pitch Black the other day. Oh, the Andrei Tarkovsky
starring Vin Diesel.
Yeah, Pitch Black.
Amelia.
So I think. So Jurassic Park for me was like the first. That's the first, like, in theater memory I have.
Really? Because if we're talking memories, it's mine too.
Yeah. It's like I.
That's weird.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Because I'm older than you are, but I drank a lot as a kid. No, I'm just.
But I just think that's interesting which it makes so much sense though because it is the movie.
Yeah.
Where it was the first time you're like I can't even explain how I'm seeing what I'm seeing on the screen.
Yeah, and it was such a. I just remember. Yeah, Pitch Black is pretty cool. Pitch Black is like.
It's a great movie.
It's like kind of like an alien kind of thing ish. Anyway, back to Jurassic Park. I just remember just when the Velociraptor jumps up onto the counter.
Yeah.
I just remember a visceral oh man, and I think we went back to see it. I mean, it was such a thing. That is such a good movie. Like that is. Very specifically, literally world building, but also, it just seems
but it's efficient.
So real.
It's like everything
great.
gets so
great.
bloated these days, and like that's an efficient. Like there's no meat on that movie really, and it's probably got the best jump scare I've ever seen with the arm.
Oh, this is a good one. Thank God.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best.
And The Witness is a part where there are puzzles hidden in clips of one of Tarkovsky's films. Oh, that's awesome. How about Alien? Alien is great.
Alien's, that's a top 10 movie for me.
Yeah, Alien
that's a top
is great.
5 movie for me.
So then the other thing, really quickly, because I want to get to the top, and then let's just do the thing, because
cool.
we're just going to run out of time. that moment for me, because I remember always going to movies and leaving entirely like thinking about what the actors did. Like, to me, movies were actors.
Right.
Like, I would go watch the actors.
Yeah, it wasn't about how it was made.
Yeah, exactly. Because it didn't. And the first time I ever noticed, the first time I ever had that sense, like where you had said you had that directed by Steven Spielberg moment.
Yeah.
Was, and I think we've talked about it, but it was Seven for
right.
me. When I saw it, yeah, and I remember going to see it.
You are coming with me.
Door to Door's wife, thank you for the follow. I remember going to see it with a bunch of friends, and then, like in high school, I was a freshman. I'm old, but we left, and I was like, for the first time, I mean, like Brad Pitt, Spacey, they're all fantastic in that movie. I think that was the first time I was like, who's that?
Yeah,
like Kevin Spacey. But I left that film and was like, hold on a second. There's something else going on here.
Yeah.
All of this feels so uniform and so singular and so just an expression of one person.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because whenever I talk about Fincher or like Mark Romanek or like a lot of these filmmakers that I consider craftsmen, I always do that.
Yeah.
And you just did that.
This.
Where their movies just, I'm like, I would describe it, I'm just like, it's just like, it's so well put together.
It's like an accordion that's really hard, but it's like, it's your
so
accordion.
Fucking well made and so tight. Yeah.
Considered by many preeminent critics of the time to be all show and no substance, which I kind of get. I mean, it is. It's a high concept movie. It's kind of Jaws with dinosaurs. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, but it also just like it truly, and to this day, it's a testament to the quality of the film that it still manages to give me a sense of awe when I watch it. And I've watched it like 100 times.
They redid it. Like they re-released it on the big screen years ago, just maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. I went to see it with a caution. It was just as great as ever.
I mean, it's why
so great.
But it's also a movie that I can't. It's why I can't get behind. I couldn't like even Lost World. It's just diminishing returns the further on you go because like nothing's gonna top that first experience because it was not just dinosaurs. It was this is CGI on a realistic level for the first time.
Right, and the other to me, Terminator 2 in that one. Or the two that you're just like,
it was because what Terminator was 91. Yeah, but then this was like
93. That's true.
Yeah. And it put it on a front and center scale.
And I think it was at a time where like the cost was just so ridiculous at all ends that they just kind of were like, I mean, I don't know if it was a cost thing, but they blended every bit of like practical CGI puppets, all of it together, and they were like, we're just going to do that, and it just is amazing.
And it's interesting because Spielberg did it twice. He did it with Jaws and he did it with Jurassic Park, in that he set the benchmark for what a Hollywood summer movie was supposed to be.
Absolutely.
And yet people would take it, and then they would try to imitate it from there on out. Yeah. And you just couldn't.
And they go, you make a shark movie? It's like, no, it's not the shark.
It's the absence of the shark.
Yeah, exactly.
You do a dinosaur movie with CGI? It's like, no you use the animatronics and you use everything else to make the CGI when it's there believable.
And I care about the characters. And she said, we should ride with you because it'd be good for you. Like, and it's just like, that's it. That's the whole thing.
I know the system.
This is Linux or whatever. It's just like, Lex is a hacker, he said, setting up the final act. Jurassic Park, the Deus Ex Machina, was considered by many preeminent critics at the time to be all show and no substance. Yet, as we can see, it was a gateway drug into filmography for this, in a sense, for the two of you. Yes. Do you think the MCU, DCU movies will have a similar impact on today's generation? Sure.
I would imagine so.
Sure,
yeah.
Absolutely. And then I hope they watch. Never mind. Like better movies. They're no, absolutely.
Like Daredevil.
Dude, like seriously, yeah, because absolutely. I mean, what else are you gonna watch growing up as a kid? And they're charming, they're tight, they are funny, they're entertaining. They go in one ear and out the other a little bit. So there's some, but I mean, like I'm old. Who knows? I don't know. I feel Jaws totally blew me away when I first saw it. I kept rewatching it to figure out why it was so good.
That's another top 10er for me. Yeah.
Are those movies really going to convince anyone to get into filmmaking? Possibly. I don't know. Yeah. First movie. I mean, they're like, I'm not trying to, because again, it's.
I'll never knock the Marvel movies because they are
wonderfully made.
They're wonderfully made stuff.
Oh, Megas. Sorry, Superman 2. Superman 2 is that's a big one from my childhood.
Yeah.
Anal Fingers. What a name. Yes. Sorry. That's just yep. After all this does, one of the CGI is convincing. Absolutely, because it is paired. Carson Druid with the host. Oh my gosh, what's up, dude? How are you doing, my friend? Guys, go follow Carson Druid right this very instant, please. That dude is an amazing, amazing artist, and a better person. And I love him. I love him.
I love him too.
Thank you. So we may have to like stop doing these because we're about to. Subscription. Predator 2 is one of your top 10s. That's awesome. I've only seen it once. Subscription. Oh, I get that, MM7. No, man.
You know you wanted it.
I'm ruining the talk show. Don't worry about it. Definitely say well, it's just 3 hours, so it's gonna go fast. Yeah, I agree.
Lobrocop, Lobro by Lobrocop.
How's it going, my friend? Lots of love. Okay, so real quick, yes, yeah, and then what? I'll get to the other thing. So let's do it. Do a top 5. Can you do a top 5? Have you thought about it? I didn't think about it. So
I didn't think about it a lot, but I mean, I do have a pretty solid top 5. Mm-hmm. I would say I put Saving Private Ryan at the top because it's the most impactful for me. Even though as I've grown older, it's probably not the most. I think there are better films, and I think the next one. So probably my favorite in terms of artistic. And what its impact on cinema is Apocalypse Now.
Really? I didn't know that.
Without question. It's my number 1.
Wow.
JFK.
I'm going to rewatch the JFK.
And more JFK because I think it's a brilliant film about conspiracy and because it tackles everything. I'm not saying it's accurate. I'm just saying it throws everything in a dish. And it has some of the most brilliant editing, and it's so wonderfully made.
Oscar-winning
editing, and it's fantastic.
Also, that movie ends, and you go, "Dang,
yeah,
what are we gonna do?
Yeah,
nothing. We're gonna do nothing."
It's an impressive feat.
Shaving Ryan's Private.
So that's 3. Alien, without question, is that one has left a deep. I watch that probably once every 2 months, just because I just like the world and like talk. I think that introduced me to the notion of what atmosphere is. Yeah, and Apocalypse Now too. But that one is just drenched in dread the whole time.
I think it introduced atmosphere to generations of filmmakers. I mean, I think there's Alien, and again, it's like there's like Blade Runner and Alien, and there's like After Alien, and we talked about this here, where yes, of course, like there's like there's Metropolis and stuff like that, but in terms of like in a modern, like just just right there in 1979, he went bam and put this thing, and everyone was like, I want to do that.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Anyway, sorry. Alien is great. I would agree with that.
And I'll throw as a 5th one. It's 21 Grams by Inarritu.
Sure.
And I think even now, I think Amaris Paris, his first movie, is a better film. But I will say that when I saw that when I was 17, I walked out of the theater, and that was my second pivotal movie-going experience in terms of affecting me as a filmmaker, because I walked out and said the emotional impact that movie had on me. I was like, that's the type of filmmaker I want to try to become. In terms of just the intimacy of the acting and the performances and how gut-wrenching it was. I was just like, I would love to explore that.
His early stuff is, it's
like early. I mean, Revenant and stuff, I think it's all great. But like his early, especially his first 3 that kind of ended with Babel, it's just fantastic. So those
and 21 Grams, my gosh, the performances in
Naomi Watts is just...
she should work all the time, everywhere, in every role, always.
It's a truly...
Male or female, doesn't matter. She's amazing.
He explores grief in a way throughout that whole trilogy of films, but particularly in that one, it's just palpable in every performance, and it's fascinating to watch.
It's a downer. I mean, you want
super downer.
You want to ruin a 4th of July barbecue, you just put that on a big screen while everyone's roasting up. But it's, oh my gosh, it's so fantastic.
But it's beautiful too.
It is beautiful.
Okay,
absolutely. Killing a Sacred Deer. Oh, dang.
Oh, so good.
Dude, I feel like
So
I am so worried about Yorgos. I'm so like on an emotional level. Not really, not even so much. More Michael Haneke. He reminds me of Michael Haneke.
It's that
Michael Haneke, I'm
that.
like, that dude needs help, and he's using these films to cry for that.
I think he's using
Yorgos
it as catharsis.
Yeah,
but I think Yorgos he views it almost in an absurd. There's such an absurdism to it, to all the proceedings that are happening. There's almost like a winky Kubrick style thing where he's like, yeah, isn't this really messed up? And isn't it kind of funny how messed up it is?
Yeah, that there's like, of all the things, Killing Sacred Deer is crazy. My God.
Oh, so good though.
So it is, and I'm to the point where I'm like, I want to see the next 8 things he does, or do I? But yes, but there's like. That shot of the kid on the ground is the most horrifying thing I'm just like, that's so, like, where they're just crawling. Yeah. It's just the top 5. Jaws 5, Godfather 1 and 2, 4 tie, 3 2001, 2 There Will Be Blood, 1 Goodfellas. All right,
that's a really solid top 5.
Yeah.
And I love Blade Runner.
You like 2049 better than Blade Runner? Interesting. Yeah. I can
Here's
see
the
that.
thing about 2049. Absolutely a beautiful, worthy follow-up to Blade Runner. And I've seen Blade Runner a million times. I love that movie. Yeah. But in terms of narrative, I think Alien is probably stronger.
Yeah, I mean, Blade Runner, I feel like is just
it's all atmosphere.
It is, and it which is crazy because it's a story about cyborgs and people discovering who was a cyborg and not. And I love Blade Runner. It's more
Me too.
Poetic. But it is a movie where I'm
like watching a poem.
Like I went and saw it on the big screen, and I feel like I was sitting there and just going like, this is so beautiful. Oh, this is amazing. This is so cool. Yeah, all right, we're still here. Okay, it's good. No, it's fantastic. Memphis Belle. Oh, I had that weirdly taped. Like when you accidentally tape part of a film and it's in between the two, and then you just get to see the same 10 minutes over and over. That was Memphis Belle. Back to the Future, rock and roll.
Oh,
just the absolute finest story. Oh, it's so great. It's so great.
Oh, Back to the Future. It's
great.
That's one of those type of, and you're right about the writing of it.
It's almost universally accepted to be a perfect film. I feel like. Yeah. Like people they're almost like I've heard.
That's a whole thing we could do an episode on. Is what is because I have a high standard for what a perfect film is. And Back to the Future is one, Alien is one, and I'm having a hard time coming up with any other off the top of my head right now. But the thing should be in my top 5. Sorry,
great.
We'll put that at 6, but I would put it higher up.
I can't, man.
It's great.
The 80s aren't too far away. We're gonna. Well,
I know we'll get into that.
Well, if we start, it's not too far away.
Yeah,
if we start talking about the subject. So real quick, so my top 5, I haven't really thought about it, but I always have a top 3 which are tied, and I feel like. I mean, I like a lot of adult 70s movies. Wait, that sounds.
Oh.
Yeah.
Deep Throat?
But I feel like... I love that it's but not obscured at all. You just go, Deep Throat! Linda Lovelace! Oh, yeah, I know her name. Is that weird? So here are so tied for 1 are 3 films.
Okay. I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
Rushmore.
Oh, yeah.
All the President's Men.
Oh, yeah.
And The Sandlot. Which is a weird assortment of films, right?
God, Sandlot.
But those are the 3 movies that I've ever seen that I've finished it and gone, I would not change a frame of any of those films.
Sandlot is an interesting movie because it feels like it's just always been made. Yeah, it's always been there. Yeah. Because it doesn't feel... Because when was that made? In the 90s. It does not feel like a 90s movie.
I want to say 96.
It looks kind of like a 90s movie. No, it doesn't. What am I saying?
No, yeah.
It has truly a timeless quality to it.
It's fantastic. And
that was one of my VHSs in my stack
that
I watched over and over. That run at the end when he's running around the corner in slow motion.
Yeah, oh
yeah,
Beast
comes around. Yeah. PF fires.
Yeah, it's great.
Benny.
Did you say? Wait, someone said
ass blasters.
Ass blasters. Someone did say ass blasters. Someone always says ass blasters. No, Primer. Yeah, Primer is crazy. Primer is pretty nuts. But I think that's more like a.
Do you call it Primer?
I call it Primer.
Interesting.
Because to me, a primer. I mean, you can say it either way, but a primer is a book that tells you how to do is like a work. Okay, all right, and primer is what you paint with. That's just me. It's all right, everybody, look it up. Don't. We always do this, and I'm always right. All right, okay, all right, here we go. Yeah. And then the other two, gosh,
well, that was 3 for your top 1, so give me 4 more.
Really?
Just go.
Okay. All right, so in no particular order, but that's what a top 5 is. So I'm supposed to do that. All right, I'm just going to throw some out there.
You already did 3 for your number 1, so you're out.
Whatever. Somewhere in there are Field of Dreams, definitely. I feel like I'm picking all
That's
the...
That's a really interesting one, because that one completely... I only saw that, like, 2 years ago for the first time. So it just like bypassed me completely.
It is,
but I feel like it's very resonant for a lot of people I know. Yeah,
and it's weird because it is. To me, it's a movie I watched I watched movies with my mom, and that was a movie that we watched together. But it is, and that she loved, and I loved, and I was like, and I just kind of So we that was the thing that we did. But to this day. Because I feel like you say I don't know. That's why you say Field of Dreams and people are like that. It's a sappy piece of whatever. And I don't know. Maybe it's because I saw it as a kid, but it's another just about perfect film. And if I could have an effect with a film that I made, if I could pick like the resonance that a film that I made would have, it would be Field of Dreams, something like that.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
And is it because I feel like for a lot of people, it's the ending with...
And it's not just because it's a dad thing, and it is a dad thing. And that's very...
Well, I know that I draw, father relationships in films. That always gets me. You know, like,
absolutely. I think it's Silence of the Lambs is greater than Field of Dreams.
Silence of the Lambs is another top 10. I'm going to probably have like 20 top 10 movies, but Silence of the Lambs is so amazing.
Those are funny to compare. Yes, definitely. I feel like they're just complete. I mean, obviously they're different films, but they're just doing different things. Like to me, Field of Dreams is all about faith, not necessarily religious faith, but just faith. Like
I need
just
to watch that again.
Believing in something that you just believing that things are going to make sense, doing something crazy, absolutely insane, and then having it
I'm gonna watch
come back around in a way that you can't even whatever.
I watched it in the background. It was on like TBS or something. I'm gonna really sit down and watch that one, and it's got a great James Horner score.
It does. Yeah, it does. That I mean, like James Horner again is the make you cry composer
without question. And he's got those bells and stuff. Like he's got his go-to things that I'm like, it gets me every time.
My daughter really likes the Rocketeer theme because and then it goes boom. It's that's the Horner. That's Horner. That's Horner. Yeah. And then the Field of Dreams is the boom, 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 dun, dun, dun. Anyway, Dog Day Afternoon has to be up there.
Right.
That movie just is amazing. And then honestly, there's other stuff like Network and Network is great. Just really great. I know I haven't mentioned RoboCop. That's up there. That's up there. I don't know. I assume that's probably in the top 10 for me. I don't know. But then there's stuff like honestly, there's more recent stuff like stuff like Her or Nightcrawler or Jesse James.
Children of Men was a big one for me. That one, I was just like that. I watched that. I remember watching it the first time. I was like, well, that's a real classic. Like that's gonna stand the test of time. Yeah. It's interesting when I can walk out of theater and be like, that's gonna. We'll still be talking about that one. Yeah.
There are movies that I feel like, and it's funny. Just to segue, gosh darn it, because we need to. We're doing okay, maybe. There are movies like Her. Oh, and Steve Jobs, man. Like that's not like an all-time. It's so amazing. Yeah. I watched the clip from that the other day. I was just like, gosh, that's the one movie where a lot of times I'll go and see amazing performances, and I'll just be like, oh man, I'm so inspired.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs is the one film that I went and watched and was like, oh what? What? I don't. Why should I act? They don't. No one needs any. Just have them do everything.
Yeah,
Have
right.
Kate Winslet and Michael Fassbender do everything.
Danny Boyle is like it's probably
Danny Boyle's amazing.
one of the best, and yet I feel like he is very well respected, and yet I also
Yeah.
feel like he doesn't get enough credit sometimes.
Yeah.
Like 28 Days Later, it was such a seminal sci-fi's, quote unquote, it's more virus, but like zombie type film that set a precedent. And like he just went and he did it in such a unique way.
Mm-hmm.
Like he could have gone with a big budget, but he was like, no, I'm gonna shoot on a Canon
Better
XL2.
alive,
You know,
He really did.
he did.
That's
He
crazy.
did, yeah.
Trade S4. Thank you for the follow. Trades 4. Why did I separate the S from the Trades 4? Thanks for the follow, my friend. Yeah, I
Dead or
think
alive, you are coming with me.
like to Dankle more EJ. Thank you for the follow. We talked we and this is something. This could be a thing too, but we talked about like Kubrick, who's picking up the mantle, and I think in terms of the versatility and the variety of things he does, I think it's Danny Boyle. Like I think.
Oh, in terms of how he can just switch gears.
Yeah,
on
like
a
because
dime.
if you line up his movies, like I know like Millions.
And Millions is one that
28
no one
Days Later.
like.
No
I
one knows.
don't. No one even knows about Millions,
no,
and it's
yeah.
one of his best movies in his filmography.
Yeah.
Name check.
Yeah.
Title check.
Yeah. Oh, I got you. All right. Okay, this is gonna work out. I think. I'll go watch some Tarkovsky. Masterful follows, though. Yes. Yeah, but I mean, like, gosh, and then Steve Jobs, and then well, I never saw the I'm James Franco and my foot stuck on a whole thing.
But it's great.
Yeah. Slumdog is like Slumdog's all right. Like
Slumdog's all, but here's the thing: Slumdog is a perfectly. It's not probably the best in. I wouldn't put it in top 5. But the only reason it got the backlash it did is because it won Best Picture.
Exactly.
That's it.
It totally
it's the only
happens.
reason.
It totally happens. Wish I had a better toolbox to I'm sorry. Sure. Talk about movies. My wheelhouse is animation. Well, that's what this is all about. So excellent segue. So what we're going to do so we're going to talk about this, and we talked about sort of what we're going to start talking about. So we've talked about what we're going to talk about.
Cool.
But the format for this, and if you guys were here for Monday Movie Nights, that was sort of a thing that we were doing as well. But this is kind of in a different way. We're going to... So this one, we're going to talk about all this new Hollywood stuff. But then moving forward, it's really going to be film-based, right? So we're going to, at the end of this, in the Discord, if we don't decide it by the end, I don't even know we kind of got to talk about the 2 films for next time, but I don't know. Did we? Yeah.
We'll just keep going.
So, in the Discord, if you'll join the Discord, there is a channel called Filmography. If someone wouldn't mind hitting !point Discord, and we will be like, this is the movie or movies we are watching for next time. Are we a book club but with movies? Yes. Essentially.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about this background, listen to what you guys have to say about it, and start watching movies that fit into this sort of era in film and these are directors I would imagine, even if you don't know a lot about film, you'll have heard of. And so we're going to try to dig into why you have heard of them, or maybe why you should have heard of them according to some people, or why people talk about them all the time.
And we'll probably introduce
Jean-Pierre Jeunet. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
We'll probably introduce some lesser known films at some point in the future as well.
And then
that are also equally great, but maybe a little underrated.
Yes, and also, again, in the future, we're gonna bounce off and do all sorts of crazy stuff. I know I just keep saying this, but like 80s action versus 90s action. Yeah. We're gonna talk about so like this is really
what is a perfect film. I think that would be a great
I like
one.
that.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I think we should do a whole one on composers. That now we started talking about James
composers. I'm so glad I didn't.
All I listen to. I don't listen to any modern music. I don't even listen to classic music. I just listen to scores and movie scores, and I've done that since I was a child. It's all I listened to.
I forgot that.
Okay,
we're gonna start doing this too. I don't know how to do it because now Twitch is kind of cracking down on people using copyrighted music. But I want to do like a composer of the whatever and go like we're gonna. I got an idea. It's fine. It's gonna stay here and we're gonna do it. Yeah. Oh gosh. All right, Les Smithies, thank you for the follow. So let's talk about. All they'll do is mute the stream. Well, no, because people have gotten banned for it now. People have gotten it's
banned for humming.
No, not for humming, but for playing copyrighted music.
Oh, okay.
It's legal to use it with commenting. Yeah, I don't like. I think yes, absolutely, as like a teaching tool, but we're not. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, yeah. We'll see. We'll see. I would like to, and I think we might just do it anyway. All right. So, good night, King Seeker Larry. Scription. No. Thank you. Guys, we're gonna have to cut these short. I'm so sorry. Sub, he said, and then did scription. Thank you so much, King Seeker Larry, for that freaking Twitch Prime sub. Lots and lots of love. Thank you so much. Yes, Carson. I have some ideas. Yeah. Okay. So,
hit me.
Let's do this. So let's say, thank you so much, King Seeker Larry, for that support. Lots of love, man. Thank you for that Twitch Prime sub. So prior to 1967, and please jump in constantly.
So
we all, oh yeah.
Well, I'll just
sure.
So prior to the New Hollywood movement,
yes.
The old studio system in the late 60s was deteriorating really quickly, and they really didn't have their finger on the cultural pulse, as it were.
Yes, and
like,
oh yeah, go.
I'll just say that the last major film that had any type of register, they were putting out a lot of musicals and a lot of old school type movies and things like that, like big budget, period pieces. And I think the last one that really had any register was The Sound of Music.
Right.
And but they were putting out tons a year, and that was like the only one that really landed with any significance.
Yeah.
And they were getting to a point that all studios in Hollywood, like the three majors, four majors.
I think there were like 5, right?
Yeah. They were all getting in real dire straits in terms, like, financially speaking.
Yeah.
And so they were grasping at straws, and that's kind of that's the ground that was laid. And the soil was kind of fertile for some new blood to come in there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And when we talk about the studio system, so basically, in the wake of so we're going way back. So in the wake of the Great Depression, that is when, obviously, the country was in financial ruin, and strangely, you would assume that one of you would assume that one of the last things people would spend money on is going to a movie or something, but. There were more, like, production ramped up. People made tons and tons and tons of movies, and people went to them because they were trying to escape their lives.
Definition of escapism.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so people were these giant movie studios were rolling out tons and tons of movies, and they were models of vertical integration in the sense that they owned the production, right? They owned the production house, the production side of things, actually making the film. They owned distribution. They also owned each or most of the 3 of the 5 or a number of the big studios owned movie theaters that were contracted to play only their movies because they owned it.
And they had each studio had actors on their rosters. They had a list of directors that, if you were Warner Brothers, you had Warner Brother directors and Warner Brother actors. And they only did those for those studios.
And you hear about that, and it kind of is crazy because we don't even really think about it or pay attention to it anymore, but it would be Daniel Craig can only be in Universal Pictures and whatever. It's very, very kind of... It's kind of nuts. And so they had this kind of stranglehold on the industry, but
they were pumping them out. It was viewed. I don't even want to say it was cookie cutter because great films were made within that system, but it was a almost assembly line type scenario.
Yeah.
Where even great directors like John Ford, he himself viewed his job. He didn't consider himself an auteur.
No.
And that's going to change with what we're about to get to in the 70s. But he viewed it as he had a job to do, which was deliver an entertaining movie.
Yes.
He didn't view it as a film or even really as an art form. He viewed it as a very blue collar type job. Yeah. and he was low on the totem pole, and his job was to execute, have the actors hit their mark,
yes,
get it in as few takes as possible, and move on.
Absolutely. And again, a lot of this stuff is coming out of here, but like, yes, like there's a story in there about how this young, I can't remember who it was, but this young kid got to Hollywood and he was very excited to get onto this film, and he was like, "Can I meet the director?" And he went and talked to the director, and the producer was like, "Yeah, you can meet the director," because director didn't mean what it means now. I mean, it did, but it also just didn't have the clout. They didn't have the creative control. They were just kind of working stiffs.
The other major thing is like the director's job was not, he was an on-set person.
Yes,
he came onto the set. He did his job, and then once the film was shot and in the can, literally, he was gone. Like the studio took over, and they saw it through pre-production, and they saw it through post-production and release, and the director was only there to be on set to guide the production, and that's it. So there was no authorship in terms of, even with John Ford, really,
like
for a while.
It was kind of like, you've probably heard sort of this kind of stereotype, which is also true, that the writer gets no respect in Hollywood, and the director was just kind of right there. Mm-hmm. Like, it was the producer, it was the head of the studio that was in charge. Like, he'd be like, the producer or the head of the studio got the movie together, and this still kind of happens, where like it's like this director, this person is, but it was him. They were the creative engine, so to speak, right? And the director was just like, you told me what to do, I do it.
Yes.
Writers get respect now? No, they don't.
They don't, and they absolutely should. Screenwriters should get more credit than a lot of people.
Absolutely, because there's no without
you got nothing without it.
There's a thing recently, Julie Garland did a racially insensitive character. She had to do that because the studio owned her. Yeah, they also followed her around, did things like monitor. Yeah, if you want to watch, like, I feel like they do in Hail Caesar. They kind of dig into that a little bit, like where they would manufacture relationships for actors to kind of
they would set up dates. Oh yeah, like Rock Hudson, who turned out, he came out later, or did he even ever come out?
I don't know.
But he was a gay man, and like the studio hid that for years,
and they were
years and years.
Look at Rock Hudson and Doris Day out of the town. Look at them. Oh boy, they sure look, all American, heterosexual, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. See, K-pop scene in Korea. I feel like that they only do that when they take on the writer and director. See, so that is like a thing. I mean, I don't know. I wonder if there were writer directors before that.
That's a good question, something worth digging into, frankly.
So this whole thing, there's this thing, right, where they're just cranking out movies. They own every aspect of it. There's no competition for them. No one really cares. They're just eating. I mean, it's musicals, like gangster movies, and the movies of this time that were huge, and they're great. I mean, they're amazing.
Yes, there's
like Gone with the Wind, Wizard of Oz, Casablanca, Citizen Kane. I mean, these are gigantic, and Citizen Kane was kind of like almost like a weird, because RKO is kind of like a weird indie in a way of the five huge ones, whatever.
But like I'm a huge fan of Carol Reed, who did Third Man with Orson Welles. Yeah. There's a brilliant movie with I can't remember his name. It's called Odd Man Out. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful film noir. And he did another one called The Fallen Idol. But great movies. Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin. Sorry, actually, thank you for saying that. Charlie Chaplin did write a lot of his own stuff, and there was one studio, United Artists, that was started by Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks.
Yes,
a lot of the big,
and like two others.
Yeah. And
they want their whole point of that was to give artistic control to the director. They were the one odd man out,
and they're kind of the precursor of. You're right. That's absolutely right. Like they were creating. So there you go. those are the writer directors.
Yeah,
and they were creating their own stuff. The problem is they were just bleeding money.
Yes, because United Arts they, even though they were giving artistic control, and they were seeing some success with like the James Bond movies and a couple other franchises, they were losing money every single year,
and they eventually just
they had to sell it off.
And so there's this whole studio system, right? And also at this time, I guess this is a reasonably okay time to talk about this. This is also Hollywood is. We're going to get off. They're operating under what was called the Hays Code, and I don't know if you've heard of pre-code film, which is where. So we've got the MPAA, right? The Motion Picture
Production Code.
Something Association. The MPAA,
Yeah.
the Motion Picture something Association. I don't. Motion Picture Association of America? I don't know, but they're the rating. They give you the PG, PG-13, the R, all the things we're used to seeing. Before that, there was something called the Hays Code, and before that, basically the Hays Code came about. 1922, because before that there was no regulation. They were just like, you can put anything you want, and there started being kind of what they would call risque films, right? Buster Keaton, we had artistic. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there you go. So that's interesting. I don't.
I can't remember. It was the General, his last big, which is a brilliant, to this day, that's one of the best silent. I'm a huge silent movie buff as well.
That's awesome.
And I remember seeing the General and just being flabbergasted, which is a word I've never used, at how he did some of the stuff he did. It's so
Buster
big.
Keaton's ridiculous.
It's just, and it's an entire movie. The General is a train, and it's a whole movie that takes place on a series of trains, and just what he does in that movie.
And everything's just like a gigantic wide shot,
it's all wide shots with hundreds of extras.
He's just doing it. Yeah, it's just crazy.
He's just doing it. Continue.
But so the Hays Code was and this is where I dove a little too deep. But it was the Hays Code came about in the wake of some what they would call more risque films and some scandals. Like there was there was a murder of a guy named William Desmond Taylor, who was a writer-director. Fatty Arbuckle. Oh yeah. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it.
Trial,
but remind me of.
So there was. This is really strange. There were 3 trials. It was rape and then also murder.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
And what people this is really insane. This is really, really insane. Oh, well, that's interesting. Sorry. Avatar Cameron or Avatar Shyamalan? Whatever. There was this after hours party. There were 6 women there and 3 dudes. One of them was Fatty Arbuckle, who was a large in stature comedian, and had this reputation as a clean, really wholesome dude, comedian. And there was a woman there who called the police and said that Fatty Arbuckle had sexually assaulted her friend, and somehow the rumor came out that he had crushed her with the size of his body and ruptured her liver, and she died.
Wow.
And after raping her, and so sorry for this. There should have been a big trigger warning. I apologize for that. But this is a thing.
And he was convicted?
There were 3 trials, and I don't know. I read just kind of. I just kind of surfaced just some articles and stuff, but apparently in this case, he was ultimately acquitted. Mm-hmm. They found some stuff on the woman who was kind of accusing him, and apparently she had sent some telegrams and was like, "We can get some money out of him," and it was. I don't know. It's all hearsay from decades ago now.
Like this telegraph.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Telegraphs. That's exactly right. And ultimately, they found that the woman had a condition that was exacerbated by alcohol, which whatever. So I don't know. It's this crazy thing from 1922, I think.
So how does that play into the code?
Yeah. So there were these 3 gigantic trials, mm-hmm. and at the end of it, the jury wrote out this whole thing, and they're like, we think that there's no evidence, and we think it's baseless, and we think that he should be absolved of it, and he deserves an apology and way more and all this. Anyway, it's a really fascinating story. Chris Farley at one point was gonna play him in a movie.
Oh wow!
That passed away. John Belushi, same thing, and a third John Candy, same thing. Wow! Isn't that crazy? Wow. All 3 of them were gonna play him, and then they all passed away.
Wow!
Very strange. Ruined Fatty Arbuckle's reputation by pushing the narrative he was guilty of everything. So no one knows, I guess, but the the courts, whatever, and Charlie Chaplin defended him and whatever. But his career was over. He had kind of a comeback. Anyway, that was one of the gigantic scandals because by the end of these 3 trials, it didn't matter. They were just like, his career's over.
Right. Yeah.
And so they were like, oh my gosh. So this is 1922. Now this is interesting because Major League Baseball kind of comes into it. Because there was the Black Sox scandal, right, where 8 White Sox were accused of throwing the World Series for money, which also plays into Field of Dreams. And in the wake of that, Major League Baseball hired this commissioner to like just clean up Major League Baseball and fix their image, and he kind of like. So same thing. The movies, I guess, kind of did the same thing. They were like, okay, we're going to bring in this guy, Will Hayes, who's a Presbyterian elder, and he set forth the Hays Code, which you can look up, and it says, if motion pictures present stories that will affect lives for the better, they can become the most powerful force for the improvement of mankind, which is a nice sentiment.
That's great.
And then you start seeing here the principles. Remember, this is 1930? No picture shall be produced that will lower the moral standards of those who see it. Hence, the sympathy of the audience should never be thrown to the side of crime, wrongdoing, evil, or sin.
Oh, wow.
And you hear these things about these gangster movies. You hear there's no crying in baseball. You hear these things about gangster movies that they would make all the time.
Yeah.
But as long as the guy got murdered in the end, then it's okay. As long as we're like, but definitely this guy's the bad guy. Then it's okay. And that's what they're kind of saying. The Hays Code, correct standards of life, subject only to the requirements of drama and entertainment, shall be presented. Law, natural human, shall not be ridiculed, nor shall sympathy be created for its violation of law. Crimes against the law, these shall never be presented in such a way as to throw sympathy with the crime as against law and justice. So anyway.
So it was essentially just really like censorship in the name of do-goodery.
Morality.
Yeah, right.
Because all of this crazy roaring 20s stuff had spilled over, and people were like, movies and actors are reprobates and all this stuff. So they're like, we're going to bring in this dude. He was so this is interesting. He was no politics, but he was the chair of the Republican Party, Republican National Committee. He was the former chair, and then he had been found guilty of accepting bribes in the Teapot Dome scandal. This is how far back we're talking about. I don't even remember what that is, but I remember the Teapot Dome scandal.
Yeah.
Anyway, blah 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 blah. So all this stuff, that was kind of definitely a tangent, but in the meantime, this is the kind of oppressive rating system that we're living under in the studio system.
Right.
And if you like now, the Motion Picture Association of America, they'll give you a rating, but you don't have to get a rating. You can release a movie without a rating, and it's fine. No, most of the time you want to, because people want to, like, it's like, if they won't rate you, that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Parents aren't going to give money for the kids, whatever. Blah 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 blah. But it's totally voluntary. Under the Hays Code, if you didn't pass, that you would they would ban your film. Like, it was illegal to make a movie that was, like, it was called obscene. How long was
this? When was this?
So that
fired
went until 1948, I think it was, something like that. Somewhere around there, 1950, 1940, something like that. Before the Hays Code, there were films that involved topics like abortion, wives being unhappy in their marriages, doing something about it. Crazy, yeah, exactly, yeah. And it's funny because, like, I found this out today. And I was like, did you know in 1915, we're getting off, but the Supreme Court made a ruling that said that motion pictures were not protected under the First Amendment.
Why?
Like, it was an expression. It was not. It was commerce. It was not expression.
Interesting.
There was apparently, and I read just enough to be fascinated by it. Apparently, in Ohio, the Ohio Constitution had a free speech clause that was similar to the U.S. Constitution. And I don't know if they're talking about, it must have been talking about movies coming in, not movies being made in Ohio, because I don't know if anyone was making movies in Ohio in 1915. Maybe they were. But they established a censor board that if you did not pass it and you were found distributing a movie that was not approved as it, you could be arrested. But they also charged a fee to be approved. And so there was this motion picture collective or company or something in Ohio that, like, brought that to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court was like, it's not free speech.
That's so interesting.
Which is crazy.
But it really does paint a picture of
Good
how
night, diabetes. Yeah.
up till, and it works right into what we're going to talk about with New Hollywood. Is that, or like what brought about that movement? There was just like this overall feeling and perception of movies prior to the 1970s. I feel like, even though art was being made, like Carol Reed and certain directors and John Ford, they were making artistic films. It really was viewed as a commerce business, and it wasn't really truly viewed as an art form. Because I mean, in the grand scheme of time, movies have only been around for like 100 years. Yeah, a little over 100 years. So it is the newest, and music has been around for forever. Painting and all this and all these other things, writing but film itself, it's just a very new thing. So, and if you really look at it. It makes perfect sense that they would be like, well, it's not. Yeah. You guys are trying to make this new pictures, the big pictures thing. Like you're trying to make it seem like it's one thing, but no, you're just you're selling something.
Yeah, it's almost like they and with that people as respected as John Ford, it seemed like they viewed themselves as like technicians as opposed to poets.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it's just like this is. Maybe actors view themselves less like that, but I don't. It's like just and it is a very technical art, I think even today. Obviously,
I think in hindsight, you can now look at a John Ford film and like there's an economy to the filmmaking that is now talked about in like how beautiful is that in its simplicity, because making something simple in film is actually an incredibly hard thing to do.
Yes.
Because people have a tendency to make things convoluted and things, and they're like, well, that's complex. And I'm like, well, not necessarily. And so they look at, things like Searchers, and, Scorsese will talk about the Searchers all day long till it's blue in the face, and what a brilliantly fascinating morality tale that is, but it's also just the economy of the filmmaking and how simple a shot, reverse shot type thing, and a dolly shot this way, and how this move here emphasizes this emotion, and blah, 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 blah.
And then John Ford's like, I'm just a mechanic, man.
Yeah,
like
with one eye, because he always wore an eye patch.
Video games are currently the very newest, and it's fun to notice all the exact same loops that it has gone through that film had to with censorship and questions of morality. I think that's extremely valid, man. It's
very true. Like you look, I remember playing Last of Us for the first time and being blown away at the artistry and the emotional weight of it, and how beautiful it was in its subtlety.
Yeah, and I think that's actually very fair, because even like I've been playing these David Cage games, like Heavy Rain, and I'll be like, oh, these stories are great, and I end up calling them movies. I'm like, I love these movies, but and then we kind of get into the conversation about like whether the story is good, and we're like, well, it's good for a video game. Like I still have this like bias a little bit.
Sure.
Of, like I'm like, well,
it's kind of like how people viewed comic book movies for the longest time prior to Marvel. It was just like, I guess Blade's okay for a comic book movie. I mean, Blade's an admittedly great comic book movie. But like the standard was, it just didn't get the respect it deserved. And I remember, playing Last of Us being like, there is no asterisk to this at all. Like it is just a truly great story told in an unbelievably beautiful way.
And it's got to be a completely different thing, obviously, because you have to create a story that feels like you're unfolding.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like the writers have to. I mean, I understand it being considered more of like a technician thing, because it is very technical. Obviously, it's virtual.
But
the writer is like.
But it's also just a new format.
Absolutely.
It's just interesting to see that video games are going through the same thing as movies did, and it's just like I feel like human beings just have to process it in a really silly way. Yeah. Where it's like, oh, it's new. Yeah. So let's throw it. It's new and therefore foreign and unknown, and that scares us. And so let's do the because was it like Joe? Some politician like went on a crusade against.
Well, you said Hillary. I thought it was Tipper Gore. Yeah. It's Tipper Gore, wasn't it?
Yeah, somebody went hard
Al Gore's
after video games in the early
in the 90s, yeah.
90s, yeah. 90s.
Yeah, and like was like Harvester was one of them, or Night Trap. Night Trap was one of them. Night Trap was
what,
they hadn't even played the game.
Were they blaming school shootings and stuff on?
Not yet.
On that,
we haven't. I don't think.
But weren't they like trying to blame violence overall, like I felt like it was like a violence thing. They were
Yeah,
like, well,
absolutely.
these video games, there's a direct
Causing-
correlation to.
And before that it was rock music. I mean, like,
I know.
I mean, it's, I mean, and like whatever, like when people are dying, I understand trying to weed it out, but also,
But it's silly. It's a silly thing to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, they still blame video games around, so I'm sure they did. Oh boy. Let's not. Dungeons and Dragons. Oh yeah, my mom didn't let me play Dungeons and Dragons for some reason. Advantage of the games is obviously the interactive element. It opens up all these new tools to tell stories. It's fun because when video games first started, they didn't really have stories until kind of recently. Yeah, and I think, I mean, like, honestly, we may be getting to a new Hollywood period with video games. There are things that are being done that are like really, 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 really fascinating. Dungeons and Dragons games. Tipper Gore went after music. Oh, was Tipper Gore the parental advisory? Yeah, okay. Oh, I don't know. All right. So, all this is going on. The studios have a stranglehold on the industry, right? Like, people are just like, cool musicals. They're getting,
And they're like insisting on shooting on these massive backlots that they
Yeah.
own and stuff,
Oh, yeah,
which
they own-
cost a fortune
Absolutely.
to maintain, and like you're shooting everything on a lot. That's why movies prior to the 1970s all look a certain way, which is very, very pretty and very, very fake in a lot of ways.
But like Gone with the Wind is just beautiful.
It's beautiful. Like they're all beautiful, but
it's
very
like a
manufactured.
storybook.
Yeah. But that costs money.
Yeah.
And
So
they're hemorrhaging that money. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's going, and everything's going fine and dandy for the movies, for the big movie studios. All fun. It's like RKO, Warner Brothers, MGM, Universal, Paramount.
Paramount, and then
United Artists.
Yeah.
Is like the kind of outlier. Mazes and Monsters. This is rap music with Tipper Gore. Yeah. And then some things started happening. First of all, there was, what was the year? I can't. The Supreme Court. Gosh darn it. Whatever. The Supreme Court in the 40 something or maybe 50 something decided that they were in violation of antitrust laws. And they were like, you got to break this up. You can't own production and distribution and the movie theaters and the whatever. Because what they would do is like...
Yeah, especially with the movie theaters.
Yeah, because they would sell to the movie theaters they'd sell in five movie blocks, and like one of them would be the like... It's like when you like buy baseball cards or something, and you're like, you're gonna get one good one, and then like four crappy ones. Like, that's how they would just pack it, and they would sell them off like that.
Yeah.
And the French film studios hung in it for a bit until Hollywood oh, that's interesting. I don't know what time that is, but yeah, that's interesting. I didn't hear about the French film studios. I would like to know about that.
We'll get to the French New Wave here.
Yeah. So and then also the advent of television, people, which was not, I said it wasn't yet rated, but it was just different. It was just different.
But I mean, that was a new thing
Absolutely.
that was pulling people away
20s
from
and 30s.
and
That's this time.
You have that argument to this day now with streaming and everything. It's just like the
Yeah.
constant pull of like, well, that's taking away from the people in the theaters.
Yeah, and also that's true. And then streaming film, and also like Twitch is still like very much like the Wild West, but it can, and it's getting like bigger, and people kind of have now sort of heard, because like Fortnite, people have heard of Fortnite and stuff. But like if it became more and more mainstream, it might only be a matter of time before there's some sort of ratings clamp down, like some sort of rating system that's like, you can do this and this and this and not this. And in the meantime, the French New Wave is starting up. What years is that? That's the 50s and 60s.
That's 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
And Japanese cinema kind of simultaneously in that time, and a lot of like really fascinating director, and this is where people were seeing directors come out as like the authors of their films.
Yes.
Like the really, like truly the first time, and legitimately great movies were starting to be made, and that's where you had like Godard and Truffaut. and Kurosawa.
Oh, that was.
And like, you know.
Yes, Méliès. Yeah, absolutely. Georges Méliès. Yeah, sorry.
And one of my favorite filmmakers of all time,
Stiglitz.
and every time I say his name, I sound like a pretentious douche, but his name is Jean-Pierre Melville.
Sure.
And he directed all these really badass film noirs, and which names are escaping me right now. Oh, one is called Le Cercle Rouge, called The Red Circle. One called Le Samouraï. He did an amazing movie called Army of Shadows, which is about the French Resistance. And he's just this minimalist filmmaker who does these brilliantly, like, silent, quiet, but efficient. Like, he's all about the meticulous nature of a heist or a hit on a person or things like that. And
I want to. Yeah,
I think you would really dig it.
Yeah, I've not seen any of this.
But anyways, this whole movement's happening, and you know, you get with Godard and Breathless, like that was a huge movie for a lot of directors.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so American filmmakers who grew up in the 50s and 60s and will become important in the 70s, they're starting to see these movies are starting to get imported in various ways over to, you know, the East Coast, and people are starting to see them.
Yeah. And it's much more free, and it's much more, oh, and also this, what was the, because the auteur theory, which we kind of alluded to, right, was something that came out and sort of film critics started talking about it. Who's the big dude? I can't remember.
Pauline Kael is the one who promoted the auteur theory.
Which was the one I knew, but there was another one in here that I can't remember.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Saris. Andrew Saris.
Mm-hmm.
And the auteur theory is this idea that the director is kind of in the sole author of the film.
It's almost, I don't necessarily agree with it. I think it takes an enormous amount of people to make a film.
Yeah.
And I think, again, my main issue with the auteur theory is that if you aren't the writer-director and there's a writer, then it just throws the writer completely under the bus. And that's my main issue with that theory. But people were fascinated with it, and people in the 60s and in the 70s, it became a huge thing. And because it did allow for more, all of a sudden people were viewing films, which again was like a studio system type thing, as a personal endeavor.
Yes.
And so all of a sudden you started to get personal films told with very specific viewpoints, with, you know, and because the production code was no longer a thing, and like there was this revolt against studio filmmaking, you were getting films made where the morality of its main characters were very gray and therefore much more interesting, you know. And I think, and even, you know, as a reaction in the 80s, I felt like they reverted back to a more hero-villain premise in most movies.
Yes, absolutely.
That's because frankly, that's one of the main things I find fascinating about the new Hollywood movement is the gray area in which everyone played in terms of morality of its characters. That's what makes it so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Because no one was just good.
Yes.
Or no one was just bad.
Yeah.
Like it felt very real, and like true to life, people had good and bad in them, and everybody does. Yeah. And that's what's
And so yes, and well, gosh, so many things. Because the auteur theory, right, is that the director is the poet. Oh, I got water for us, and I left it downstairs. Sorry. No, that's right. I appreciate it.
Is that full?
I don't want your fucking water. No, I'm just sorry. So this auteur theory was like that the director is the poet, but I feel like the way in which it exists today, right?
Mm-hmm. I think
because it has persisted.
It has persisted. I think it's more associated with writer-directors now.
And I also feel like because you're right, there is this idea that like, well, you're just discounting all the contributions of everyone else. Mm-hmm. But it's like when you really get down to the nuts and bolts of how a film is really truly made on the highest levels, it's like the actors come in and they're the kind of the paints and there's sound and everything, and there's production design, everything comes together, and they're enormous. Everyone is kind of like in their own world going, this is my world, this is my world, this is my world, this is how I see it, this is how I see it. And the director's job really is to be the vision and have people go, how about this? You go, yes, that fits the vision. That's great. It doesn't fit the vision. Yes, this, no, this. Our actor goes, this.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. And it's why, at least in modern era, I don't have as much an issue as with the term auteur, because I feel like it's mostly associated with writer-directors, and I agree with everything you just said. My main issue, though, and it still persists to this day, and I've never agreed with it, and I think it's terrible, and I fucking hate it every time I see it. It's when it's either opening credits or ending credits, usually opening, and it goes a Steven Spielberg film or a Michael Mann film. And it's just like, it gives sole authorship of the entire thing to one person. And that is categorically just something I completely disagree with. Because guess what? Just take your writer and director credit, and if you want to, you'll still be considered the author of that film.
Sure.
It's just, I feel like it's, every time I see it, I'm like, wow, that's really insulting to the hundreds of people who made your film special. Sure. Because I feel like it throws, I mean, I'm a big believer in actors. And I feel
they're
like
real.
They're real.
They're very real.
And I feel like they give an incalculable value. I mean, they're the ones on the screen. And if they can't nail the nuance of like whatever you're putting their characters through or whatever,
they're trash.
Then your film won't work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it just won't work.
Absolutely. And and agreed. And that's kind of, because that's where I lived before I realized what a director was as a kid. I was like, they was the actors.
Yeah,
it just was the actors to me, because that's what I'm connecting with. I'm not going to go like as an 8-year-old, even though production design is amazing. I'm not going to go, I connect with that production design.
Yeah,
I go, that's a house.
Right.
If you're doing your job, I just think it's a house.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's interesting. A Spike Lee joint, a Farrelly Brothers joint. So that's happening. This auteur theory is kind of.
Can we scroll up? I want to go to that comment.
Oh yeah. Probably couldn't get the film financed with a big name director. Honestly, there are some directors, but mostly it's actors.
So I can even understand, like Christopher Nolan. It'll say a Christopher Nolan film, but it'll say it in the trailers. I don't know if it says it in his films, and I can get it for marketing purposes.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
in terms of once you got the asses in the seats, I don't see why you got to have it in the actual film.
You know what I really like? You know what people started doing, and I want to go back and see the first time it happened, because now people do it, and like they do it to the point where I go, oh, really? Where they'll be like, from visionary director, and I'll be like
Zack Snyder,
and I'm like, sure. Like there's some where I'm like, okay, they just did a thing that like looked a certain way. Like they'll be like Tarsem Singh, and I'm like, okay, like sure.
And honestly, I could even get behind. I could get behind that if we were just talking. If he had stopped after The Fall. Like, have you seen The Fall?
I've not, and
I really
it's his
want
best
to.
one. I know.
But like The Fall and like even The Cell, I could be like, okay, yeah, he kind of is a visionary, and then he did more stuff, and I was like, oh,
I like Watchmen even.
But like Terry Gilliam, I'd be like, give him a visionary credit because he is.
There's
Zack Snyder.
I'm waiting for
honestly, and this is a whole argument we can get into. Look, I don't have that many issues with Zack Snyder.
Tarsem does fit the bill. I think. I agree.
I feel like Zack Snyder gets ragged on a lot, and I'm like, okay, he's made some, admittedly, perfectly shitty films, but he's also got some talent.
Absolutely.
But like, it's just weird that I'm like, oh, slow motion and like really knowing how to compose a shot makes you a visionary, because that's where I first saw that they like really went heavy. It's like the visionary director of 300.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Which had a certain vision to it. I don't know.
It does, but like, is that visionary?
No,
in terms of just style.
Believe me. Yeah. I'm trying to wait. I'm waiting for one that's just ridiculous. I'm waiting for the day that I go, oh come on, but it hasn't quite happened in a world.
Visionary director Paul Feig.
Probably. I know. I was trying to think. I was like Todd Phillips, although he's doing the Joker movie, so maybe the visionary. A visionary Farrelly Brothers joint, like which Farrelly Brothers joint?
Well, I don't know, maybe.
Sure, right, absolutely. So all this is happening. The auteur theory is happening. The studio system is being is hamstrung by the fact that they no longer their trust is being broken up. They know they're what they call a trust, their monopoly, quote unquote, is being broken up, right? The visionary mind of UA Bull, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't, they're losing their stranglehold a bit. TV's coming in and they're like, whatever. People have more choices. And they really just kind of find themselves sort of...
They're just kind of going like this.
Yeah,
they're like they're on... It's like they're standing on toothpicks trying to balance themselves without falling over completely.
Because they used to just be able to throw a ton of money at interchangeable... not interchangeable, but like giant, big budget musicals.
And the way the infrastructure was set up, like you couldn't really fail.
Yeah, because you plug this director in, you plug that director in, and you just do it the MGM way.
Yeah.
And you just do it, right?
And that's true. Like they were like, that feels like an MGM movie.
Right,
like,
as opposed to like a George Cukor. Well, maybe.
But I mean, like that's what it was. Yeah.
Exactly, Paul Blart Mall Cop. Yes, and but then there got to be a point where like they go, well, we just throw money to a musical, right? We throw money to a musical, and people started going like, no, because what's happening also in the background is the 60s. Yeah. It's the 60s, man. It's Vietnam. It's all this crazy stuff. Well, not quite yet. But it's 67.
No,
yeah.
it is, yes.
67. Yeah, it's Vietnam.
You're in the thick of it,
It's the hippies. It's everything, right?
The cultural and sexual revolution. Like, it's all happening
right now. And the 50s are like, what is this? And this, even part of the 60s are like, what?
These movies like Sound of Music, which is a great movie, but you're just like,
yeah,
you're not seeing life. No one was going to the theater and seeing life reflected on screen. They didn't
see themselves.
Yeah.
Exactly. You just see these perfect escapist things that were made for a world where they wanted to escape. But the 60s were a time when people wanted to engage and change the world, right? Yeah. And it's like, yo, 9-4 Kiwi, thank you so much. I mean, real quick one. Thank you. Subscription. Sorry that we got truncated sub alerts today because we're gonna run out of time here. Thank you so freaking much for those 8 months of unbelievable support. Thank you so much, my friend. Lots and lots of love. But so the 60s are happening, right? People.
This is sounding epic.
I really better bring it home. And these studios, which are run by, as the book said, the guys who invented the movies.
Yes.
But there are these old white men who are just like they just don't
Jack
know.
Warner.
Yeah.
Like his last
Warner
name is
Brother,
Warner
yeah.
of Warner Brothers.
9-4 Kiwi, thank you so much. Lots of love. Yes, and these guys are just finally kind of starting to find themselves in a world that they're not part of, that they don't relate to, they don't understand, and they're
also getting old enough to where they're getting to a point where they're kind of looking for. I mean, they're getting up there in age. Like they're all in their 80s. And they're just like, well, how much longer am I really going to keep this going?
And when the big budget, when you used to just be able to throw money at stuff and that would do it, when that starts kind of people start turning away from that, are the movies going to die? What's going to happen?
Yeah, so they're like, maybe I should just get out. So a lot of them are starting to leave too. Yeah.
And I love this. This was a quote. So this is about the 60s and 70s, and this is something I guess I forgot from when I read it. This is a time when film culture permeated American life in a way that it never had before. Film culture permeated American life in a way that it never had before and never has since. In the words of Susan Sontag, it was at this specific moment in the 100-year history of cinema that going to the movies, thinking about movies, talking about movies, became a passion among university students and other young people. You fell in love not just with actors, but with cinema itself. And that is what started happening as a result of what we're about to start talking about, which is the new Hollywood. The new Hollywood. So... And it basically is attributed to 2 movies.
2 movies, yes.
Right?
And it's almost a back-to-back.
Yeah.
It's Bonnie and Clyde.
1967. Bonnie and Clyde.
And Easy Rider.
Oh, well, okay.
Wait,
well, I was also going to say, because Easy Rider definitely, I was going to say The Graduate.
Oh, and The Graduate.
So
like,
sorry. And then 3. Easy, well, just because they were the same
I'll
year.
say this.
And Easy Rider definitely.
Bonnie and Clyde and The Graduate are the ones that kind of opened the gates.
Started,
and then Easy Rider goes right in and
drove its motorcycle.
It literally drove its motorcycle through the gates and was like, here's what it's going to look like.
And just tossed a doob back there and whatever. I don't know.
A doob?
A doob, right? That's what the kids...
Yeah.
Am I Jack Warner right now? You didn't go to the movies just for the air conditioning. Exactly, right? So yes. So the first 2 movies that kind of go... And it's 1967. Bonnie and Clyde... Warren Beatty, Faye Dunaway, directed by Arthur Penn.
Yes.
And then
Beatty was in a career slump, and he was like 29 at the time.
And he's just like, if you see.
He's already known as like a Lothario, like a Don Juan type dude.
He's so vain. I bet he thinks this song is about him because Carly Simon's "You're So Vain" is about supposedly is about Warren Beatty. Now, if you don't know who Warren Beatty is, if you've ever seen Dick Tracy, if that's too old, if you've ever seen Bulworth, look up Warren Beatty. You probably you remember he was there with Faye Dunaway when they announced La La Land as the winner, and it was Moonlight.
Yeah.
So
it's those 2 people.
That's
Bonnie and Clyde.
And that's why they were paired together as presenters, because they were kind of the opening the opening salvo of the new Hollywood, right? And if you I don't know if you can tell, but Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway at the time were like the most beautiful people who had ever walked the earth.
Yeah.
And they select them to be Bonnie and Clyde. Now remember the Hays Code talking about like, you can show crime, but don't make it sympathetic, right? So Bonnie and Clyde comes in, and gosh, I just want to like, look up the trailer for Bonnie and Clyde. I kind of just want to play it, but it's, what time is it? Yeah. It's like 3.5 minutes. Those trailers are like long.
Oh, yeah.
But Bonnie and Clyde comes in, and the tagline was something like, they're young, they're in love, they kill people.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, you've seen movies like that. If you've seen Natural Born Killers and I mean, even Badlands.
And it even took a format of like, because it had 2 runs. Its first run was not successful at all.
Right.
And because they treated it like it was just another gangster picture, which were already kind of they were not popular anymore and kind of thought of as what's the term I'm looking for? Déclassé. Yeah, passé.
Sure.
And
Déclassé.
Yeah,
that's it. You're right.
And then Beatty was really looking for a hit, and so they just. And who wrote it? Like, it was 2 writers, but he took it and he massaged it.
Yeah. Was it?
But there was an intent here with this movie.
It's not Robert
like,
Town.
No. Oh, he came in and polished it.
Did he?
Yes,
Okay.
he came in and did a full polish.
Robert Town, by the way, we'll talk
An
about it.
uncredited
He's like
polish
the most. Robert Town is like just the most badass Gus.
Writer Chinatown.
Yeah.
He's a big writer during this era.
Yeah.
But anyways, like, Beatty was looking to do something that he knew he could get finance, and so he saw this Bonnie and Clyde script, and he was like, okay, this is a gangster picture. It's got a nice, familiar framework. But then the intent, though, was to flip it on its head and do something different.
Yes.
And that's where and Beatty has a heavy hand in this. Like, he needs to get credit, as well as Arthur Penn and the writers. But
yeah.
Beatty, like, really took charge here, and he'll do it throughout his entire career. And if anybody is in a tour, I would give it to Beatty because he really
crazy.
He was almost a massive control freak in terms of artistic control.
Which is
like him and Robert Redford were both like they just were very dominating in how all facets of their films were made.
So do me a favor, click on that link and watch the Bonnie and Clyde trailers as we're talking here, because like, and it'll seem very dated. But if you think of it in terms of like, what people were getting was The Sound of Music and The Wizard of Oz, this starts to seem a little bit more like there are shots. It's like shaky cam. It's like.
This is a time when you couldn't even show, like, in order to show violence, you had to show someone shooting a gun, and then you had to do a cut, and then you could show someone going, ah!
Yeah,
and that's it. But you couldn't show a person shooting a gun and then getting hit with a bullet in the same shot. That's the era that we're working in. And so they had this massive bloody shootouts, the famous bloody shootout at the end of Bonnie and Clyde, and like it was game changing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like no one had ever seen anything like that.
And it was kind of one of the death knells of the Hays Code. It's like, this doesn't apply anymore because the Hays Code was finally.
Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
He's the cop in his cop.
I don't know to what
cop.
extent they were folk heroes
scared,
before that. I mean, they clearly knew about them, right?
Bonnie and Clyde themselves.
I think there must have been some.
They were still considered. They were already folk heroes,
right? I would say,
and they were well known. More so in Texas, I feel like, than any place else. Go.
Thank you for the bits. Thank you for the bits. To me, Johnny. Thank you for the bits. Thank you for the bits that you gave to me. That's it. All right. Thank you so much. That's cool. Lots of. He shot that dude in the face in the trailer. Exactly. So again, if you put that next to The Sound of Music, it's like, whoa. And that was like a huge, like, whoa, wake up call to people going like, huh? And here are these outlaws, and this is all the angst and pain because they're these young, beautiful outlaws living in a world they don't understand, also killing people.
But they were killing, and the difference was they were killing sheriffs and victims,
anti-authority.
They weren't killing bad people, so there was no moral justification for it.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, like but the movie presented it where these were your heroes, but they were stone cold killers.
Yeah.
And that had never really been done before.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so that was a big thing. But when they first released it, like the studio dumped it because everyone thought it was trash. Jack Warner watched it at his home, and he said, "If I take a piss during this movie, it means it sucks." And he peed 3 times throughout the movie. And he was like, "This movie is terrible. It's a 3-piss picture." And that's what he said. And so everybody just thought it was terrible. And then it got released in Europe.
Yeah.
Like 6 months after the fact or something like, or a few months later. And it was a massive hit. Like Europe just ate it up because it had European sensibilities. And like even in the movie, Clyde is impotent, and like they address that, and so it was dealing with sexual themes. And go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
And so, anyways, it was such a huge. It was like a sensation. It was a phenomenon.
Totally.
In
People
Europe, to the point that like Warren Beatty sees this, he goes back to the studio and was like, "You messed up big time.
Yeah.
You have to re-release this."
Yeah.
They still wouldn't do it. And so then Pauline Kael, the film critic, this is how she comes to prominence.
Right.
Because she writes an insanely long, beautiful, very favorable review of this movie, saying it's the new way of movies and yada, yada, yada. And
in the New
compares
York
it to
Times,
the French New Cinema and all this stuff. And essentially, the studio just gets pressured into re-releasing it, which was something that they had never done before. They re-release the movie. It does 10 times the business that it did before and makes a ton of money. And that's what triggered everything.
Because the studio starts going, we did what?
And they didn't
Why
understand
do you
it.
like
They
it?
had
Why?
no idea what was happening.
It's like the internet to old people. You know, it's like, it's definitely, can you imagine they did it with film release? Well, I mean, they do re-release stuff. Gene Wilder was in it, and so is Gene Hackman. Does this predate Sam Peckinpah? So Sam Peckinpah was already doing stuff, but he
comes to artistic prominence in this era.
So that's what's amazing. So
great.
So Bonnie and Clyde kicks this whole thing off, right? People go, "Oh my gosh!" Then comes The Graduate, right? Which is Mike Nichols. He was directing a play on Broadway. They brought him in, and this guy optioned the book and was like, "I'm going to get it." He got Mike Nichols as a director, and they're looking for this like waspy 6'2", like Robert Redford, basically.
And he auditioned Robert Redford.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't give it to him. Do you know the story?
I don't. Well, I've heard it.
So Mike Nichols auditions Robert Redford, and then he
Do you know who you guys know who Robert Redford is? Probably. He's in Civil War.
Very handsome man.
He's Butch Cassidy.
He was this era's Brad Pitt, essentially.
Yes.
And Mike Nichols auditions him, and then he very gracefully tells him, he was like, "You were wonderful, and also you are not right for this part at all." Yeah. And Robert Redford was genuinely confused because this was pre who Robert Redford was. And he was like, "I don't understand why." And he was like, and he just looked at him, he goes, "Have you ever been turned down by a girl?" Right. And Robert Redford says, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "That's why."
Exactly. Yeah, and so they go. He did start the Sundance Festival, absolutely. Yeah, Robert Redford is gigantic. Robert Redford is huge. All right, so they go and they get this unknown actor who is doing a play, or they'd seen Mike Nichols and Buck Henry, who wrote the movie, had seen him in a play, and they pick up a short Jewish. Yes. Yeah, right. I think he's Jewish because Nichols is Jewish, and he was like, and he was actor named Dustin Hoffman, who you may have heard of. And what is the thing where he? Oh, anyway, whatever. So they get him, and this was a landmark thing because prior to that, the actors all looked like Robert Redford. The lead characters all looked like Robert Redford. And this was the first time, according to what I was reading, this was the first time that people started going, "Oh, that's me. I'm not Robert Redford, but I'm that guy."
They started casting normal looking people.
Yeah, absolutely. And like even though it's weird, but like just people who were not just Robert Redford
is a great actor,
absolutely,
but he looks like a Ken doll.
Yes, exactly, absolutely. And this opened the door. This is the first time people start going, what if we cast people who, look more like normal people, like like Al Pacino, people like Robert De Niro. So Dustin Hoffman,
Hopper.
Dennis, exactly. They opens the door. Ratso Rizzo. Yeah, opens the door for this whole thing, and just so in the wake of this, right? In the wake of all this stuff, let me just read you some of the directors and films that came out of this time. And the thing is, like, these people are all brand new. Funny K-Dog, thank you so much for the follow. This is all brand new, but also there are people like Sam Peckinpah who start doing just their most creatively free, best work, right? So we've got, we've got stuff like, Bonnie and Clyde, The Graduate, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Rosemary's Baby, The Wild Bunch, Midnight Cowboy, Easy Rider. And Easy Rider, I think I read it was like if they opened the door, Easy Rider just blew it off.
Yeah. But if you haven't seen The Wild Bunch by Sam Peckinpah, it's one of, in terms of Westerns, it's a top 3 for me. Like Assassination Jesse James.
Nice.
And then probably The Wild Bunch. Yeah. It's that level, like, and again, there's an artistry to it, and just it's about the kind of the passing of the guard, and like old men in the West and not having a place in this society any longer, and they don't need outlaws anymore and stuff like this. And it's like this sad, melancholy Western that's also hyper violent. And I saw that. I saw that 2 years ago at the Summer Film Series here in Austin, and I was just blown away. And I immediately bought it, and I watched it like 5 more times because like it is a truly beautiful, artistic film.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I haven't seen Easy Rider, Raging Bull. I have not seen Easy Rider. I have seen Raging Bull. I have not seen. Yeah, but that's what this is about. That's what this is about. So again, I know we've been talking, right? And we are going to keep talking, but this is all stuff we're like, well, we reread this and blah, blah, blah. And you guys are saying this stuff, blah, 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 blah. But this is where after this episode, we're going to start going, cool, we're watching these two, and we'll come back in 2 weeks, talk about that. We're watching this one. We're going to come back in 2 weeks. So we'll all, if you choose, we'll all have the same palette to draw from and have a conversation. And we'll start, because that's the thing is, like, there's a lot that I haven't seen. There's a lot that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
I need to rewatch The Wild Bunch. You don't have to do homework. This is not about shaming. This is about
now you get to watch some really cool movies.
Forgiving because there's tons and tons of movies that I'm ashamed that I haven't seen. I have not seen Easy Riders. I have not seen Easy Rider.
Have you seen Clute?
I've not seen Clute. We're gonna see Clute.
Right. We're gonna watch Clute, and it's gonna be awesome.
They shoot horses, don't they?
I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it. No. So our pain is the Spark Notes version. So here we go. This is what we're doing, and I can put it. Wait, I can start compiling a list and put it in there. But join the Discord. Join the Discord if you would. There is a channel on the Discord called Filmography, which is the place for pre and post talk about this show and also just any general movie talk.
We should have a cone of shame.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wild Bunch, Midnight Cowboy, Easy Rider, MASH, 5 easy pieces. 5 easy pieces. The French Connection, Carnal Knowledge, The Last Picture Show, McCabe and Mrs. Miller, The Godfather. Right? So you probably haven't heard of all these, but you've heard of some of them.
So many
names like so. In the first wave of New Hollywood, Peter Bogdanovich, who did The Last Picture Show. You may not have, but he was
another, to me, perfect film.
Yeah, that's coming up.
Yeah.
He was a film critic turned movie maker. Francis Ford Coppola, Warren Beatty, and again, Warren Beatty, dude, I thought he was just a pretty boy until I went back and read this, and I was like, oh, he was a mover and shaker.
Oh, mover, shaker, and a true artist. Like, I mean, he does get the bill of a pretty face who slept with a lot of women, but he made some amazing movies and directed some amazing movies.
Yeah, absolutely. Including Dick Tracy. I love Dick Tracy. Yeah,
Reds is a phenomenal
film. Absolutely. I got to rewatch that.
I will watch that with you.
Absolutely. Warren Beatty, Stanley Kubrick, Dennis Hopper, Mike Nichols, Woody Allen, Bob Fosse, Robert Benton, Arthur Penn, John Cassavetes, Alan J. Pakula, Paul Mazursky, Bob Rafelson, Hal Ashby, William Friedkin, Robert Altman, Richard Lester.
I don't know Richard Lester.
He was the guy who finished Superman 2. No.
Did he do the Pink Panther movies?
I don't know. He did. What the crap did he do? He did one of the Bond movies?
I feel like he was more of a studio guy.
I still have to watch Clockwork Orange. Yes. Yeah. But maybe, so yeah. Second wave, Scorsese, Spielberg, George Lucas, John Milius, Paul Schrader, Brian De Palma. I have not seen any De Palma, and we're going to watch the shit out of some De Palma.
We're going to get into some De Palma.
Terrence Malick. And then movies like The Last Detail. The Last Detail, 5 Easy Pieces. Guys, listen to me. If you do not know Jack Nicholson except as the Joker, and The Departed and the Joker forward. I remember going like, Jack Nicholson's a great actor, I guess, because of the Joker and because of whatever. Go back. I've not seen Carrie. I mean, I've seen Mission Impossible. I've never seen Carrie. I'd love to. We're gonna De Palma this mother. We're gonna because we're gonna do like horror movies at Halloween. Oh my gosh.
If you haven't seen One Flew Over, and Last Detail is a great Nicholson performance. If you
so
haven't
great.
seen Milos Forman's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, to me, that's when I understood the like unspeakable talent of like what I was like, oh, that's what Jack Nicholson. That's because he does stuff in that movie in terms of like the craziness and then the unbelievable subtlety that he can do. That'll crush
and
you.
that's what it is. So to me, it's Cuckoo's Nest, 5 Easy Pieces,
5 Easy
and The Last Detail. Like we're gonna do. We'll watch The Omen in 79, 80. I think The Omen's 1980. We'll get there, sure. Funny K-Dog, thank you for the freaking sub, my friend. Goodness gracious. Scription. Thank you. Sorry to cut it short. Thank you so much for that freaking sub, my friend. Lots and lots of love. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't want your cigarettes.
I have not seen Scarface. I've not seen Scarface. Yeah. The subscription. The Last Detail. I understand that, Mug Monster. I understand that. Nashville, Faces, Cassavetes, Shampoo, Hal Ashby, A Clockwork Orange, Kubrick, Reds, Warren Beatty, Paper Moon, Peter Daniels, The Exorcist, The Godfather, Part 2, Mean Streets. I have it, and I have not seen it.
It's great.
Badlands. Oh my gosh.
My favorite Malick movie.
The Conversation.
Maybe my favorite. Well, no. Coppola is a crazy one because he has, in terms of in terms of a string, he probably had the best run of any director ever of all time. Because what did he do? Godfather,
Conversation, Godfather 2.
Conversation, Godfather 2,
Apocalypse Now.
That's 4 in a row.
And then he was just kind of like, I'm done.
And then Apocalypse Now broke him.
Yeah. Funny K-Dog, thank you for that tier 2 sub. Good night. Goodness gracious. Good night, like not like goodbye. I just say that as an exclamation. That's crazy. Thank you so much, my friend. Goodness gracious. Lots of love. Much appreciated. Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Apocalypse Now, Jaws. We're gonna watch Jaws.
Yeah.
Cabaret, Clute, Carnal Knowledge again.
I don't know what Carnal Knowledge is.
It's a Jack Nicholson, Art Garfunkel, Murphy Brown, Candice Bergen.
Candice Bergen, Murphy
strange.
Brown. Yeah, I didn't realize until I started doing some watching older movies. I was like, oh,
Candice Bergen's a big deal.
like her and who's in Last Picture Show?
Sybil Shepherd.
Yeah, I didn't realize how influential they were. Candy B.
Yeah. So I went to an interview. Chris Nolan from he said during Godfather, he was in a corner crying. Godfather, Al Pacino is another instance where they did not want Al Pacino. They wanted Robert Redford. They were like, don't get this. Get Robert Redford for this Italian immigrant mafioso.
They were like, make him look like Charlton Heston in Touch of Evil.
Taxi Driver was on TV yesterday. Yeah, it is extremely disturbing. It's extremely disturbing. To the point where I was like, I almost got out of that movie and was like, that movie's dangerous and certain people should not watch that movie.
It is one of those movies
that
really...
It's a tough one, man.
It's probably the best movie about loneliness that I've ever seen. There's a shot in there where he's just walking in a sea of people.
Yeah.
And they use like a telephoto lens and it's just him walking down the street and people are passing him by. And I was just like, wow, they didn't even talk about it. But it's just like, what a lonely shot that is.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know anyone. He doesn't talk to anyone. He's starting to lose his mind at that moment in the movie. And he's walking around all these people, yet he's completely alone. I was just like, that's brilliant.
His only friend is a 12-year-old prostitute played by Jodie Foster of, not Chappie. What is it? What's the one after Chappie? Elysium. I never saw it. Apparently she did a crazy accent, and I really can't wait. Okay. Serpico is great. So here we go. Hold on, we're going to get to that. American Graffiti, which I've never seen. Days of Heaven, which I've never seen. Blue Collar, I don't even know what that is. All That Jazz, cool.
Blue
Annie
Collar's
Hall.
Paul Schrader, I think. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Manhattan, Carrie, All the President's Men, a perfect film. Coming Home, ooh, Hal Ashby. Star Wars. Jaws and Star Wars come in at the tail end. We'll talk about that later. You haven't seen a lot of really good movies. That is absolutely true. I have also seen a lot of very good movies. Brits like, okay, then it also, so like British directors, like Midnight Cowboy, John Schlesinger.
John Boorman,
Deliverance. Ken Russell.
We need to do a whole episode on
Brits?
John Boorman and Zardos. Which is
that John Boorman? My
yes.
gosh. Oh,
and
yeah.
It's with Sean Connery. There's probably,
Oh, yeah.
see if you Google Sean Connery, it's him in what looks like a red diaper.
Yep.
I've seen it. It is the most bananas, crazy movie I think I've ever seen in my life.
I understand that, Arcane. Yeah. Good.
I loved it.
Yeah. And he also did Exorcist 2. For whatever reason.
Did he? The Heretic.
I think so. Nicholas Rogue. Don't Look Now. We'll watch that for Halloween.
Ishtar.
Ishtar
is awesome.
I love Ishtar. That's
love
Elaine May, baby. That's Mike Nichols's former comedic writing partner. Ishtar's fantastic.
Ishtar it's like one of those bomb level,
yes,
like, you know,
that's
like,
what we're gonna do.
Like implodes a studio level, like Heaven's Gate type movie, and yet it is so funny and so well done. I loved it.
We're gonna do. We could do that. We could do all the like, because there are famous, like, basically studio killing bombs, right?
We might have to do one on Heaven's Gate just because
Heaven's Gate.
It caps. Yeah. There's a reason it plays a very prominent role in the ending of New Hollywood.
Yes, absolutely. It's always talked about for how bad it is. Ishtar, Heaven's Gate, then also stuff like Waterworld, Howard the Duck. Goodness gracious.
And guess what?
But
Waterworld, Ishtar, Heaven's Gate, all great movies.
All fine. Ishtar, the first 15 minutes is maybe one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. One of the oh my god, so great. So
I thought it was going to be terrible because I'd heard such terrible things,
good.
but boy, is it funny.
It's so fantastic. Yeah, and then this is saying, so Europeans started, like, there was an audience for them. Like Milos Forman, One Blew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Roman Polanski, Rosemary's Baby in Chinatown, Bernardo Bertolucci, Last Tango in Paris, Louis Malle, Pretty Baby in Atlantic City. I don't know what that is. Sergio Leone, right? Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Don Siegel, and then so Sam Peckinpah, John Huston started doing, and Don Siegel started doing Dirty Harry, Straw Dogs. In other words, also known as Home Alone Prime.
Oh, jeez. Straw Dogs is brutal.
Yeah, Pat Garrett, Billy the Kid, The Man Who Would Be King, Fat City. Journeyman directors, Sidney Pollack, and my favorite director of all time, Sidney Lumet, started doing some of their greatest work. So Sidney Pollack They Shoot Horses, Don't They? And Sidney Lumet did Dog Day and Serpico, which are two of just the greatest, two of the greatest films ever, but also two of the greatest performances of all time, both by Al Pacino. Oh my gosh. And then a new group of actors: Jack Nicholson, Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman, Al Pacino, Gene Hackman, Richard Dreyfuss, James Caan, Robert Duvall, Harvey Keitel, Elliot Gould, Barbara Streisand, Jane Fonda, Faye Dunaway, Jill Clayburgh, Ellen Burstyn, Diane Cannon, Diane Keaton. Guys,
out of all those, who's your favorite?
Oh gosh,
There's no question, Gene Hackman. Hackman is the best.
I was watching Mississippi Burning the other day.
I haven't seen it.
I was supposed to watch it.
Here's the thing. Gene Hackman, he might be one of, if not my favorite actor, but here's the other thing. I also haven't seen a lot of his catalog, and I'm kind of like, you know what?
I know.
I'm going to get to
I know.
I
really
like
excited.
that I can look forward to that I haven't seen a lot of it.
Me too. Because Mississippi Burning I'd not seen, and I was, they were like, this guy wanted me to watch for Willem Dafoe's performance, and I was like, cool. And Willem Dafoe's fantastic, but I was like, I'm watching Gene Hackman, because I can't not watch Gene Hackman. And to be fair, Willem Dafoe's is like straight-laced, whatever. It's very, very kind of like hemmed in performance as it should be. And Gene Hackman is just there. I mean, just everywhere. He takes up the best. It's your dad's favorite film. Yes, Sidney Lumet. Oh, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner is prior to this, but.
It's right on the edge.
Yeah. Like it's Billy Wilder, yeah?
It gets nominated. I think it even wins. It's up for Best Picture.
Good night, funny K-Dog. Thank you so much for the
same year
sub.
that Bonnie and Clyde is up for Best Picture. Because Bonnie and Clyde got nominated for like 10 Oscars. And it was up for Best Picture. In the Heat of the Night that year ended up taking it away. for Best Picture. Yeah,
that's crazy. Yes, Sidney Lumet did The Verdict. Sidney Lumet is the greatest director you've never heard of because he did Dog Day Afternoon, Serpico. His first movie was 12 Angry Men. His first movie was 12 Angry Men. His first movie was 12 Angry Men. His first movie. Yeah, it was 12 Angry Men. The Verdict.
The Verdict is so good.
Excuse me. Prince of the City, which is very good.
The Wiz.
The Wiz.
So that's a one blank. But here's what's crazy.
And then Before the Devil Knows You Dead.
So right before he passed away, he directed Before the Devil Knows You're Dead with Philip Seymour Hoffman and Ethan Hawke, and it has an energy to it that like a director in his 30s would like on cocaine wish he could have this type. And I'm talking about good energy. It is just an insanely beautiful movie. It's intense.
Sidney Lumet, baby. Sidney Lumet. 22 irritated lemurs. That's how much energy Sidney Lumet has at age 80. Yes. So yeah, it's 11:59. Did we do it? Guys, I know that this was maybe kind of manic, but we're gonna come back in 2 Sundays. Is today Sunday? That's when we're doing it. Every other Sunday at 10 o'clock Central Time, and we're just gonna learn together, and we're gonna build this common vocabulary of film together, and we're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna discuss it in terms of its significance to its time and to today, and we're going to learn. You're just all these people you may have heard of, all these films you may have heard of. We're gonna talk about why.
Yeah.
Why? Now, doesn't mean you're gonna love all of them. They may in some cases be dated. There are some films on that list that I don't really care for. But so we just have to make sure we watch those 50 films. No. We will put. So I was thinking for the next time, just to kind of keep it very sort of at the beginning, we could try. We've got 2 weeks. We could try to do Bonnie and Clyde and The Graduate.
Okay.
Or we could just hop right ahead to Easy Rider. What do you? I don't know. I don't know. Well, let's. I don't know.
Let's we'll discuss this, and maybe we can let everybody know.
We'll put it on the
next
Discord.
day or two.
Yeah.
So they have plenty of time to watch whatever we end up deciding.
Oh, quite the contrary. Well, maybe not. I mean, French Connection is going to have some concerning racism. But that's kind of it.
It's kind of the intent of it.
It's kind of it.
It's there not out of ignorance. It's there intentionally
to be like, hey, look.
Yeah.
These guys aren't. Yeah.
They're
deal with it.
Yeah.
These are tremendous flaws that this character has. Might be nice to find ones that are currently streaming as well. Yes. So we'll do that too.
Take that into consideration.
But I'm thinking I'm leaning toward Bonnie and Clyde the Graduate just to get it off to a.
Okay.
But I also have not seen Easy Rider, and I'm champing at the bit to see
it. And I've got it. We could watch it. Yeah.
And then what we're gonna do is kind of start. So once we get this sort of an Easy Rider, by the way, is like the first time the world really saw Jack Nicholson, Dennis Hopper, Peter Fonda. Tactical Pineapple, thank you for the follow. So we'll put it in the Discord. I'll put it on Twitter. And then, we'll just meet back here. I don't mean to just cut it off. Do you guys have anything to say that we missed? Do you want to say anything to wrap up?
If anybody has any questions or any comments or what you'd like to see next time, or
because because you guys, there were some fantastic suggestions. So that channel, that filmography channel, is also for suggestions. Next time, can we get Jeff in focus, or is it just so? This camera is weird and has this very kind of narrow field. There you go. It's also very biased. I've fixed it so that it only focuses on me. I don't know why he's doing that.
Pluritis. It's true.
Yeah. Is that where you can watch it on? Jeff be naturally blurry. It's just very mysterious that way. Candice probably creates good characters by drawing from her childhood. Yes, Edgar Bergen. Edgar Bergen was her dad. Yeah, Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy. Absolutely. Is that a streaming? Is that Bonnie and Clyde streaming, or is that just where you can buy the? Is that where you can buy the movie, Heath? It's a bit naturally blurry. But yeah, you can pay to rent. Okay, cool. For like $3.99. All right, yeah. Some of these things are going to be.
Well, I think we should take that in consideration,
absolutely.
and that's why we'll probably discuss it before we decide to just put them up.
Yeah.
Right out the gate. I mean.
And so yeah, those will be up in the Discord either late tonight or at some point tomorrow, so that we'll have time to check it out. That one is free if you have Prime. That's good. Go to your library. I was going to say your library may very well have them. And I don't know if
also iTunes probably has all these. I don't know if they're more expensive or less expensive given each Amazon or iTunes or.
Also, you guys probably have all sorts of crazy ways to watch movies that don't cost money. I'm not gonna. As someone who loves and supports and hopes to create independent film, I'm not gonna say whatever, but I'm also not gonna judge it. Simply get it from Torrance, California. There you go. So.
Yeah, we'll dig in.
Yeah.
We'll dig in on like some specific movies, and then we'll kind of probably use that to talk about that moment in time and when that movie was released, and we can talk about the peripherals of all that and the cultural aspects of it and what the impact was and things like that. And
there's some very, very exciting movies to see, and and it's
like we can't really miss.
Yeah,
like even stuff that may quote unquote seem dated, like it's still gonna be a great movie. Like it's they're all. I don't think we should pick any movie that's not gonna have any type like an entertainment value.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right, absolutely.
So yeah. Yeah, what's up with Netflix? It's like, in terms of classic movies, Netflix is just the worst.
Yeah, it is kind of like we've got these three that you'll want to watch sometime.
Yeah,
you're like, well, yeah, I wanted that 4 months ago, and this one, So yeah, guys, thanks for joining. We're gonna do a lot of stuff, and I'm really freaking excited about it.
I'm excited too, man.
Excited, because I love talking about movies and watching movies. And yeah, I'm glad you didn't start with even older movies. Really old movies are such a hard watch for me. Yeah. I mean, these things. These are the first modern movies. This is the legacy. This is the legacy.
This is how it starts.
And guys, the thing is, like, as we get further and further along, we get to watch stuff like Alien. We get to watch stuff like freaking. Gosh darn it! Oh my god!
We'll get to watch Exorcist.
The Thing.
We'll get to watch Exorcist pretty
darn soon. Yeah. Freaking French Connection. My gosh. Oh my gosh. Dog Day Afternoon. I love Dog Day Afternoon. We're finally, I talk about it all the time. We're finally going to get to watch Dog Day Afternoon, and you're going to get to tell me I don't see what the big deal is. And I'm going to like freak out, but it's going to be great because that's what conversation is.
And honestly, I think sometime we should do an episode on like silent films with Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton.
Absolutely.
These can be one-off.
Absolutely.
I completely understand people's hesitancy with black and white films and all that stuff, particularly with movies that are silent films. But here's the thing about silent movies, and this is why Chaplin, during his time period, was considered the most famous man in the world.
Yeah.
He could go into, and he did this. He went into the Congo, into the jungle, and he showed a movie. He showed one of his movies. I think he showed The Kid, and to like a tribe of people who had never seen a camera, much less a movie ever in their life, and they were laughing and they were crying because since there's no language barrier whatsoever, those emotions, like those movies hold up incredibly well.
Absolutely.
And the emotional authenticity of those movies hold up incredibly well.
Buster Keaton films are indeed still bonkers. Absolutely. Never saw some of these, so I guess you have a push to watch them now. Guys, and that's the dream, man. That's the dream. For me I just selfishly want to watch fill in holes in what I have not seen and have desperately wanted to see for so long. And if you guys get led to something that really that you connect with, that's all I could possibly ask.
Yeah.
If somewhere in this span you find one movie that you're like, that's the one. That's the one for me.
I'm gonna be excited. Like, we'll do a whole episode on Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
And that's a big because I remember seeing that when I was very young.
Thank you, Derek.
And it's still I was like 13 when I watched it. And I couldn't obviously comprehend all the themes and adult themes and stuff, but it still left a massive impact on me because it just hits on that visceral level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hold the tears in because it's hard to see things while crying. Understood. I don't know what that was in reference to, Cistern, but I love you, buddy. Connected with a 15-minute short film of the history of the universe, and at the end I wanted to cry. Gotcha. Carson, I can't believe you stuck around for so long. Lots of love. Guys, please go follow Carson Druitt. He's freaking amazing. That's because I don't read anything you write. Did you say something? Please follow Carson Druitt. Because Carson freaking drew it. He did. Guys, I can't thank you enough for sticking around. This has been a passion project. This has been a thing that I've wanted to do. Thanks, man. My whole life, and I didn't have the platform, whatever, the way to do it. And now we've kind of got a way to do it, and we're going to try to do it. When's the musicals? Dude, I mean, we can hop backward and watch some of those golden age. Because it's not like we're saying it's trash. It's not trash. We're talking about The Wizard of Oz, Gone with It. We're talking about fantastic films. It's just a different time. And that's what's so freaking exciting, is the world didn't know what was going on. I love this line. I love this quote.
And we can do Scorsese's All That Jazz, which was a throwback to those type of old school musicals that he made.
New York? New York?
Oh, sorry.
New
York. Yeah. And he made that during a massive cocaine bender. And
that's it. Because another thing that I can't wait to do, as you can probably tell, oh my gosh, guys, we're going to watch Scorsese. And the thing is, if this, we're going to keep, I want to just keep doing it. And with more time, we're just going to... So we'll watch Scorsese, and we'll watch the things that... If you do not know Scorsese, and you're like, I've never seen a Scorsese film already, or like, I've not seen the right ones. We'll watch those movies, but then we're also going to watch the outliers for all these directors. Yeah. These things that, like Steven Spielberg directed Audrey Hepburn. I mean, he did 1941. Like, we're going to watch... I mean, just, like... Bring Out the Dead. I want to see Bring Out the Dead so much, so badly.
Great Scorsese. Yeah.
In
terms of musicals, because I feel the same way that you guys do. Musicals, I respect them, but they don't register with me. Like, it doesn't work for me as a genre.
Yeah.
But here's the thing:
it took a while
if we did do New York,
yeah.
That would be a great one to do because it's Scorsese doing it in the 70s during the New Hollywood movement as a throwback
Rocky
to
Horror.
those kind of musicals. And so we can talk about, and he was going through a very interesting time in his life, and he literally collapsed and was put in the hospital because he was doing so much drugs.
Yeah.
So it's a really fascinating story, like the story behind that particular musical, that I think you would find highly interesting.
Sure. And we can totally watch 1984. Guys, on a long enough timeline, there are no limits. No limits. And then this is the thing. So to leave you, so this is where they were. This is where the studios were at the end of it. And I love this. And if you've not seen Michelangelo Antonioni's blow up, maybe this isn't as funny. But this is Peter Biskin speaking about these ancient kind of dinosaur white men who ran these studios, finding themselves at a turning point for a generation, for a nation, for history, right? In the 60s with all this Vietnam stuff, but also all this stuff that was going on with film. It's like a microcosm. He says they didn't have a clue, but they knew it and were flailing about for help. When neophyte director Paul Williams, then in his early 20s, went to MGM to pitch a project in 1967, that year, that watershed year, he was told, no, we want to make movies that aren't about anything, like that Blow Up picture. Williams adds, Blow Up had confused the hell out of them. People really started feeling they didn't know what was going on. It was much easier to get stuff going. And it's this crazy thing where the powers that be were like, I don't know. And then these young kids were coming and going like, I'm going to do this thing. And they're like, I guess so, here.
Yeah.
And then people responded to it. So they kept doing it. And they were like...
Out of complete confusion and desperation, they just handed the keys with all like studio financing and crews and just all the money and resources that you needed. They gave them to these kids.
And just do that crazy magic, you stoner kid, whatever you do. And it really is, there's kind of like a, I mean, maybe like this whole YouTube, like this whole YouTube, but it's sort of an analogy where like social media influencers, all this stuff they're kind of starting to kind of be more mainstream, and people are kind of going like, whatever, do it. We don't get it, but you do this weird thing. I'm not talking about this because I don't know how to be any of that crap, but I'm talking about like Instagram people, all the, and YouTubers who are getting all this. It's just insane. Like people, like the world at large is kind of going like, we don't get it, but it's kind of working, and I kind of get it, but I don't get it, and it's just the kids get it. That's how they felt. That's how these studios felt. They were like, I don't know, but we'll put money here, and more money comes out.
Yeah.
And it's less money than we were spending on this other crazy crap, so let's do it.
And in terms of like filmmaking and the history of film and the decades that came and went, like this is what makes the 70s so special, is like, because it's the only time it happened.
Yeah.
It's the only time that they gave immense financing to young people to tell personal, daring, unconventional stories.
And it's how we
and honestly, because of that, it led to the destruction of this movement by the end of the 70s.
Yeah.
Because it went to everybody's head, but we'll get into all that. And then because of that, it's never happened again. To this day, it
has not,
it
and
probably
may
won't.
never,
may never ever happen again. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a reason. Like there's a reason that when people mention the greatest films of all time, it's like, I mean, it's like Citizen Kane and stuff in Casablanca, but they talk about The Godfather. They talk about The Godfather too.
Yeah.
They talk about Scorsese. That's why these directors are mentioned in such hushed and hallowed tones, because they are this vanguard that came out of this mess and then just created this crazy stuff. Some people say the greatest films of all time.
Yeah, and it's why I like.
It kind of is.
I even like what Francis Ford Coppola is doing now, because like everybody's like, well, after Apocalypse Now, that movie kind of broke him, and he was never the same.
If you want to call me baby,
good gravy,
just
honey.
go ahead now. Come on, you let the spin.
I gotta call you honey, please, not honey.
WHADDA pedo just watched Slow Burn and I was like, dog, this John muy fuego you the homie. Homie, glad I caught ya Twitch, bro.
Hold the thought.
I don't even know what my thought was.
Thank you so much. What up, Doe? Just watched Slow Burn and I was like, dog, this John muy fuego. You the homie. Glad I caught you, Twitch, bro. Thank you so much, Honey Plays. I love Honey Plays. Thank you so much, dude. Hope so. This is a donation song. Sorry. Thank you so much, Honey Plays. Yeah. Do you remember what you were saying?
Dude, my drink's invisible.
Yeah. You're gonna become a Ninja Turtle.
No, I was just talking about.
Thank you so much.
So
honey.
Francis Ford Coppola, I really like what he's doing now.
Which is
currently.
what? What is he doing?
He has a winery.
Right.
And he uses all the funds to just make tiny,
like,
little personal movies that he wants to do.
Like Tetro.
Tetro, and there was one with Elle Fanning and Val Kilmer. And like they're unique, and some of them aren't even that good. But he's gone back to his roots, because and we'll get into all of this. Like he took it and ran, but he always wanted to just be a small personal filmmaker. And then because of The Godfather and how well that did, it turned him into another type of filmmaker. But now he kind of reverted back, and now he's just like, I'm very happy. Yeah. Like I fund these movies entirely myself, so it means I can do what I want.
He also, of course, did Bram Stoker's Dracula and Michael Jackson Moonwalker. No, sorry, Captain EO.
Captain EO. And Jack.
With
Robin Williams.
Oh, yeah. Man, if we could just like...
And Rainmaker. Great.
The Rainmaker.
Great legal movie.
Yeah, John Grisham.
Yeah. It's a good Grisham.
That's Matt Damon?
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Matt Damon, I think DeVito's in it.
Oh yeah, I remember the cover. They're walking down the stairs, and Danny DeVito's like down there.
Because
he's a strong. I love Danny DeVito. I love him so much.
Me too.
Man. Also, I just want to do like middle budget. Not, you know, because they always say that like the mid budget movies that they made in the 90s are gone. We should just like watch a bunch of those and be like, those are like really solid.
Yeah,
that's about it. But like we'll just watch Twins and Kindergarten Cop, which I freaking love. I love those movies. Anyway, what's up, honey? Please, thank you so much.
You know, when I think about 90s movies, I think about what's the one with Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino?
The Devil's Advocate?
The Devil's Advocate.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that particular movie just
That's interesting.
screams 90s to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, I get
Not
that.
a good movie.
Connie Nielsen. It's something. Stand By Me. Well, we can watch Stand By Me.
Dude, yeah.
Who did Stand By Me?
Rob Reiner?
Really?
I think so.
Wow.
I think that's a Reiner.
Yeah. That and Spinal Tap. Oh,
Yeah.
we could do the great romantic comedies of all time. So we'll watch like 2 movies.
Sleepless in Seattle and When Harry Met
Met
Sally.
Sally. That's pretty much Harry Met Sally for me. Sleepless
in
pretty
Seattle.
good. All right, yeah.
I love them both equally.
Really?
But I would probably give a slight bent to Sleepless in Seattle.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Mainly.
Did you see how much I angled away?
You went far.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with I just really like Tom Hanks' houseboat in Sleepless in Seattle.
That makes sense.
And there's a shot where he's talking on the phone to the radio station, and a boat floats by, and it's like covered in Christmas lights, and I'm like, that is so unrealistic, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Hey, that Diane.
Because Nora Ephron movies,
oh, they're great.
I
mean,
would
those
love to
two-
read her scripts because
Yeah.
I bet she writes in her music cues because
Yeah.
it's so instrumental to like the feeling of her films.
Yeah.
She was a great filmmaker.
She was. She's great. Nora Ephron's fantastic. How about You Got Mail? I've never seen it. Big Daddy. How many Audrey Hepburn's movies?
I love You've Got Mail.
Audrey Hepburn movies. Charade is great. Charade is great.
Yeah.
Breakfast at Tiffany's. Breakfast at Tiffany's like a moving painting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
I've
She was
never
just.
seen a
I
lot
was
of
just
Hepburn
like,
movies.
she's just the most beautiful woman, the most
Yeah.
graceful woman of all. I just was like, that was my crush. The boat flies by. I was like, wow, it's unrealistic. Get back in the water boat. Stop projecting it. Yeah, good.
That's what I said. That's what I said while I was watching that.
Me too. Yeah. They're like, can you stop it? We are in a theater, and it is 1995, and we need you to not. You two what? Hitchcock.
What's your favorite Hitchcock?
Rear Window.
Me too. What's your second favorite Hitchcock? That's probably the more interesting question because I think I already knew that.
Maybe The Birds.
Interesting.
Birds is weird.
It's super
It's
weird.
so great though.
It's great.
It's so great.
I think
Rear Window
honestly,
is fantastic. I love You Got Mail.
I love Vertigo on an artistic
Vertigo's
level.
great. Vertigo is the art
But
choice.
it honestly, I've seen it in the theater twice, and like both times, I'm like, I am so sleepy
I know.
because it's so dreamlike.
Yeah, it is.
It's not bad.
I've never seen Marnie.
It's Marnie's.
Marnie's where
great.
Sean Connery slaps around Tippi Hedren, right? Isn't that what it is?
I really love Psycho. I know Psycho seems like an obvious
Psycho's
choice,
great,
but like it is such an interesting format because it's like, oh, it's one movie and then there's a turn like halfway through and you're like, oh, did you like that character? Well, we're gonna go to 2 other people.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
It's an interesting film to watch.
I love Hitchcock movies. I can't be scared by a movie made by a motherfucker named Hitchcock.
Hitchcock.
And on that, I think we're gonna cut it, guys. Hey. This is a dream come true. Thank you for being here. Really, truly, honestly.
Seriously, guys, this is so cool. And thank you for having me on, my man. I'm glad we get to do this together.
You too.
What are we doing here?
I don't know.
even
Ow.
understand.
We're not having another episode. It's just too bad for the forearms. The tibias. Great stream, guys, for real. All its kind. You really did. You liked it. You liked it. Lobro, a dream achieved.
crying,
Lobro
I'm crying.
thanked. Man handshake failed. All right, guys. I love you. Let's find someone to raid. Tibia is leg. No, it's femur and it's tibia and fibula. Fibula. Yeah, radius and ulna. You're right. Radius and ulna. I thought about that twice. Radius and ulna. Tibia and fibula. And femur's this mother. Yeah, good background noise for your internet browsing.
Cool.
Good to know.
Yeah,
Enjoy
man.
it. All right, take it easy, guys. Lots of love. Let's raid. Who's gonna strimble limble? Is Omni? Omni. Let's go get Omni. Yeah. Let's go get Omni. Let's just do a real quick lag. Raid. Omni. Guys, 2 Sundays from now, God willing, next Sunday we'll be doing Heath Souls. Heath Souls. Woo! Heath Souls. Which, my goodness gracious, that's going to be so much freaking fun. I don't even know, and I don't even know if I'm ready for it. So yeah. So we're going to alternate Sundays, and it's going to be great. And we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. That Sunday I may not be able to do a stream that Sunday, but we'll see. We'll see. If I can, I will. And then we'll be back with we'll either be discussing Bonnie and Clyde and The Graduate, or Easy Rider, or something. Something.
Me, baby,
Good night,
just
honey.
Go ahead now. Come on, you love the spin doctors. Don't get scared.
This stream was for the Brosby.
If you want to do a music video, I'm totally game
Let's go do it right now.
for that.
Coming with me.
All right. Lots of love, guys. Let's go get Omni. And thank you so much. I really can't say thank you enough. I know I can't in general say thank you enough. This is like, oh man.
Yeah, it is.
Oh man. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Thanks, guys and gals.
Goodbye, cutest guy. That's to you. Cistern's crushing hard. Oh God, you all right? Yeah. All right. Okay, see you guys. Okay, there it is.